Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is... No! Oh, no! He dropped a rook. Oh, at the
He made a pre-move. He made a pre-move. King G3.
This is such a weird position.
Ooh,
He's like defending the, checkmate on F7 with his life. And I think he just lost the piece there.
Oh,
yep, that's it.
No.
That's it. That's a full piece. King E4. Oh, he should have played King E4, I think. Knight takes, there's knight takes. Oh.
Oh no!
He can't do it, it's check.
It's time. It's time. It was a time pressure.
But overall, I was just trying to move quickly and build up pressure. I think also because last week when I played Levon in the 10+2 game, I mean, I was much worse. But then when he got to about like 10 seconds, he started making some mistakes and inaccuracies. And so I definitely had that in the back of my mind in terms of what I was trying to do.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. This is week 6. I'm Grandmaster Daniel Naroditsky, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be commentating today with Women's Grandmaster Jennifer Shahade. Jen, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to commentating with you. How excited are you for week 6 of the RCC?
I am so excited to be doing commentary with you today, Danya. I mean, it's been a little while since I've been on Chess TV, and this is going to be an amazing event to come back with.
It absolutely is, and I can't wait to jump into the event. But before we do that, a piece of very exciting news. Jennifer, you just wrote and published very recently a new book called Chess Queens, the true story of a chess champion and the greatest female players of all time. You very kindly sent me a personalized copy. I've been engrossed. Jennifer, congratulations. This is not your first book, but this is this is excellent. Could you tell us a little bit about this book, the motivation behind it, and how you're feeling now that it's published?
I am so excited. You know, there's so much energy right now in the world of chess to get more women involved, to get more queens involved. And I think today, actually, I was peeking at the players, and I think we have a lot of amazing women playing in the event today. My book is all about celebrating that, you know, talking about their accomplishments and also some of the experiences I had. And yes, some of the sexism as well. Got to kind of combine the positive, beautiful stories with some of what we're up against.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, it's and anybody can order this at go.chess.com/chessqueens. Since, you know, I have to be the one to tell people where to buy, you know.
yeah, it's audiobook. So if you like my voice, that's a good way to consume it. And it's out on ebook and hardcover for Europeans, and Americans have to wait a little bit longer for that hard copy, but it's going to be worth the wait. Until then, I hope you guys will enjoy it in audio or ebook. And I'm just really grateful that chess.com likes it as well. So thank you to Chess TV.
Although some of us in the United States have already received, you know, their hardcover copy, but let's keep that a secret. You know, nobody has to know about that. In any case, Jennifer, congratulations, a huge accomplishment. I'm reading the book, and I think everyone should as well. But now let's have a look at the current leaderboard. Once again, this is week 6 of the Rapid Chess Championship, and leaders are already beginning to be defined. You're getting a sense of who the top 5 are. We have Fabiano Caruana, Jen, in first place by a country mile. He's got 37, and second is Hikaru with 27. Fabi has been stunning every single week in the RCC thus far.
Yeah, and look at all of those American flags, Danya. I mean, the top 4 players, that's our Olympic team, eh?
That is. Boom, 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 boom. Fabi, Hikaru, Levon, Wesley. Top 4. We have a big group of peloton there in the next 5, 6. You have Nepo, a lot of people with 15, 10, 9. So that big group, you know, that's yet to be defined. But we'll see if Fabi can continue his triumphant RCC run. This is going to be a pretty important week. It's going to define a lot. Can't wait to jump in. We'd like to thank our main sponsor, Coinbase. Rapid Chess Championship is brought to you by Coinbase. Whether you're looking to make your first crypto purchase or you're an experienced trader, Coinbase has you covered. Earn crypto and learn about crypto with Coinbase Earn. Explore DeFi and Web3 with Coinbase Wallet. Get exclusive rewards when you spend with Coinbase Card and much more. Learn more at coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account. All right, Jennifer, 5 minutes away from the start of week 6 of the RCC. We're going to go on a very short break. And when we return, we will jump into the action. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Round 1 begins on the other side of this break. Welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase, awaiting the start of round 1 here with Jennifer Shahade. We will be chopping it up for you. This is week 6. Jennifer, pretty stacked field as always. We have Fabi, Levon, Haravian, all of the normal, all of the greats are registered.
Yeah, super exciting. Fabiano Caruana, as you mentioned, Wesley So's in there, Gata Kamsky. Speaking of chess queens, we have the chess queen, Alexander Kastenyuk, who is participating today as well. So yeah, I'm super excited. Whose game are you most excited to see first? Where do you want to jump in when the games start?
Well, perhaps we can start with Fabi and see who has the misfortune of getting paired with him. I remember last week I decided to play in the RCC, and of course I got paired with Hikaru in round 1. which is always a great feeling. You're like, who am I going to play? Am I going to be in the second half or in the bottom half? And well, there's your answer. Fabi is playing Raunak Sadhwani, who is very, very solid Indian grandmaster. And he's never easy to beat.
Yeah, I'm always happy to start with Fabi because, I'm a huge fan of Fabiano, obviously. And yeah, this is a great time control for him as well. Plenty of time to finesse a little bit.
Yeah, he definitely prefers this over, 3-minute chess or bullet, although he's greatly improved at that as well. And this has helped him a lot in the RCC. He hasn't been losing some of these time scrambles. He's gotten markedly better at managing his time and blitz. And it's creating an impact as they're blitzing out a sideline of the Ruy Lopez, this knight G7 line.
Yeah, so here we have this line where it looks like the knight on G6 is not necessarily the most exciting place, right? But just a very solid position at once. And so Queen D2, is Fabi trying to castle queenside?
I think he might be. I think that's exactly what he might be doing. So if Raunak castles kingside here, we might have white castling queenside and then ramming the H pawn up the board. And you mentioned the knight on G6. It could be targeted by a pawn that lands on H5, which just adds more fuel to the fire. But Raunak confidently castling. Now, this is the moment of truth. Which side is Fabi going to castle on?
Queenside. I think he's going to go queenside because you're right. That knight on G6.
Boo.
Oh. Well, I guess it was wishful thinking. Of course,
he faked us out.
Of course, the commentators want you to castle queenside.
Well, he faked us out. He played Queen D2. Come on, Fabi.
Yeah.
I think he should be banned from the tournament. I mean, I can't really blame him, I guess. Mm-hmm.
I mean, because this looks good too. I mean, that F pawn could also run up the board and cause some havoc, hit the knight on G6. Of course, we'd be conceding the E5 square, but who knows what's going to happen there? Perhaps
even all the way to F6. I mean, Raunak has to get going, and developing his queenside. The issue is that he can't play D6. He's going to lose a pawn. And taking on D4 gives white a pretty solid edge in this. I mean, I think there's no question that Fabi is just straight up better out of the opening. Yeah, I mean, usually you have a knight on F6, and that makes for some extra possibilities, like getting to move D5 in. Exactly. So you kind of see why a knight on G6 is not as good as a knight on F6, just by this very position. Yeah, Raunak kind of running head first into this line, and it all seems so easy when Fabi does this, but when I play the Ruy Lopez, somehow I don't get this kind of advantage with white. I don't know why that is. Weird how that happens. Well, I'm sure you get plenty of great positions with this line as well. But we've got Grandmaster Kastenyuk on the camera as well here, and it looks like she's wearing like a chess team jacket. Who's she playing right now? She is playing none other than Alexander Grishuk. What a matchup! Yeah. Kastenyuk against Grishuk, and Grishuk has less time. There's a big surprise. This looks like a double king pawn opening as well. Some kind of Italian game, or this looks like an Italian. This was an Italian, and this was an old school Italian. This C takes D4 line. Knight BD2. This has been very popular recently. It's a pawn sacrifice, which Grishuk declines. He goes D5, which is also viable. A3, bishop takes D2. So Alexandra getting the bishop pair. But in return, Grishuk has this blockade on D5, which is quite stable. So this is the current position. Yeah, so this is an isolated queen pawn position, but she's got those two bishops. Does she want to try to relocate her bishop to the B1 diagonal, or do you think it's already pretty strong where it is now? Well, sometimes you could, sit on two chairs, as it were, with something like bishop A2, keeping it on this diagonal. And then when the time is right, you could play bishop B1. But one detail you have to account for, bishop A2 could run into something like knight C3, or maybe knight E3. Okay, the engine is laughing. Okay, I guess knight E3 is also not working, but I think there was rook E6 against knight C3, maybe. Oh yeah, knight C3, rook E6, and knight E3. There's also like the idea of basically trapping the bishop with B3. So maybe bishop A2 is a completely valid move here. Yeah, I just get excited when my opponent plays H6 and I can get my bishop to B1 because, of course, it becomes a little bit more powerful when you no longer have the option of ever playing G6, right? Oh, for sure. Yeah, once this pawn is on, and there we go, bishop D3 by Sasha. She's not mincing her words. She's signaling her intentions. And this also opens up the C file. Now, the knight on C6 is well protected, but there could be knight E5 later on as Grishuk gets his rook into the center with rook A8. And will we see bishop B1 here by Kastenyuk? There's the answer. We do.
So now, how does Grishuk defend? Now, it's important to note that even though it looks like Alex got a great attack, if Grishuk, I can't say Sasha here. If Grishuk defends,
yeah, both of them, I guess, are Sasha. Yeah,
exactly. If he defends successfully, he's going to have the much better position, right, against the isolated queen pawn. And even right now, he was just threatening to swipe it off. So she's played bishop to C3.
Yep. And the idea of Grishuk's last move was not only to attack the pawn, but to prepare to play bishop F5 in response to queen C2, blunting the battery and obviously defending against mate. So bishop C3 defending the pawn. I would say the position is probably about balanced. White's got the weak pawn on D4, but she's got the bishop pair still, and still chances in relation to queen D3, rook F to E8 by Grishuk. The position has slowed down a little bit.
But how do we continue to attack, noting that like this queen D3, bishop F5, kills our two bishops? So we definitely don't want to do that. We don't.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not so easy. I mean, you could make a move. I'm trying to find ways to improve White's position even marginally. It's not so easy. I guess queen D2 could be considered, just connecting the rooks. It's not anything incredible, but something.
Doing something really artificial like knight H4, trying to play for queen D3 is just not really going to work. You can probably take the pawn on D4, or maybe even play like queen F4, and it's not like we can really mate you. It's not even queen D3 doesn't threaten mate. That's what I'm trying to say. So
yeah, because the knight jumps into G8 at the right moment.
Except the engine apparently is telling me it is mate. I don't see it.
But not like that. I guess D5 maybe is the move. Blasting open the diagonal.
Yeah, okay. Got it. Wow. Well, that's kind of pretty. Yeah, because that bishop on C3 then enters the fray. Okay, so you can't just allow queen H7 check. But regardless, that's not going to work because you can just take on D4, as you were pointing out.
Right. Although, yeah, and here if you go queen D3, then the knight can jump back to F5 once again, intercepting the diagonal. Although, once again, the engine seems to like white here. So maybe that's something Kastenyuk should consider.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. Yeah, I was just giving an idea that looked ridiculous. Knight H4.
No, it makes sense, actually. It makes sense. You're stopping bishop F5. And Kastenyuk does make a knight move, but it's knight D2. Okay, so this does sacrifice the D4 pawn.
But she wants to play knight E4, and maybe she's thinking that if she can avoid that queen trade, then the bishop on C3, you've given up the pawn, but now the bishop on C3 is superb.
Yeah, and the queen has to stay in contact with the knight. You probably have to go queen B6, and then maybe white can jump out to H5 with, pretty obvious initiative in compensation for the pawn.
I love this. She is having some fun here in this position. And considering it's rapid chess, you love that initiative.
And this is Kastenyuk style. She really likes these dynamic tactical positions. She's an E4 player. This is up her alley. And, you can tell that Grishuk is maybe not that concerned, but he's spending his time. And this is going to be a really, really interesting game. Both of them down below 6 minutes. So we'll keep a very close eye on the developments. Shall we pop into maybe Levon's game? Or
sure,
is anybody catching your eye?
Yeah, let's take a quick look at what's going on with Levon. And first of all, I wanted to see what color shirt he's wearing. That's really popping. Bright red, love it.
Okay.
the fashion here of Levon and Sasha is kicking. Okay, so what do we have here? Well, he's playing against Kovalev with the black pieces. I just see it. What's going
Levon's
on
worse.
here? It looks like Queen.
Oh.
And there was
this is a repetition.
Here by Perpetual, I think. Okay, so we had just popped in a repetition of moves as we were dropping in on this game. Okay.
How lucky. Yeah, we had a repetition here. As I think Vladislav probably with a slight edge here, but didn't want to risk it. He had a chance to draw Levon in round one. It's a solid result. completely understandable from Kovalyev, who's had a lot of bad luck in this tournament. He had that game against Giri where he got checkmated, and he's had a series of near misses. Understandable that he wants to start solidly. We have Wesley also, who seems to be on the road to beating Danchenko.
And he's thinking here because I guess he has the chance to play like knight h5 check. He has like so many different options. He doesn't have to take that queen right away. He could try to hurt your pawn structure with knight h5 check first, which I think I like.
Right. I like it a lot. And d6 is weak. h5 is terribly weak. Why it's doubling on the d file. This is incredibly nasty.
But he might have also been considering knight e8 check just to distract that rook. Every move.
And then d6 is hanging. And you could even play rook takes e2. And I was thinking flirting with e5 check. And now after king e5, I mean, white goes for checkmate. You go bishop d4, bishop f6, try to go rook d4. Probably doesn't quite work, but it comes really darn close to checkmating the king. So Wesley is spoiled for choice and he goes for your option, knight h5 check and rook takes e2. This is the worst kind of position you can have against Wesley. Worst endgame. Ugh.
Yeah,
no, this is not going to end well.
Unpleasant. But that knight on b7 is defending the pawn. So what's your plan here for white? How do you like maximize the pressure? Do you get your king involved?
Yeah, I think king f2, maybe go f4 and king f3.
Yeah.
And that's, so there's king f2. I mean, first Wesley's going to make all the sort of no-brainer improving moves, king f6 by Alexander. He could also play h4 and try to create an anchor point for the bishop on g5. And just sort of slowly massaging the advantage bit by bit, which Wesley is amazing at.
Yeah, I love the move h4. Although I was also thinking of fantasizing about getting my king to h4, but I guess that's too far gone. But yeah, I really like white here. And I think Wesley is going to probably have some really instructive moves here. Well, let's see. What is he going to do right now? You're thinking h4. And then what do we even do against that?
He goes f4.
Okay.
He goes f4.
E5 could potentially be an issue. Like if we play bishop b6, and then if your rook goes to d7, we could have e5.
To an undefended square. And then you could go e5. My guess is, knowing Wesley, he likes to make all the improving moves first. He might go king f3. And maybe he'll go king f3, bishop f2, bishop h4. That's another maneuver. Okay, no bishop b6. There it is, your move. Rook g8 by Danchenko, yeah. So he gets away from the d file.
Yeah, because the knight itself is doing such a great job of protecting the d6 pawn. Although, yeah.
Knight is doing hero's work. I mean, it's protecting d6 and a5. It's not so easy to break through.
No, that
back to e3 goes Wesley.
And we can't play something like e5 trying to go rook d7 check because that would allow you to play d5, right?
Exactly.
And that's not desirable unless we had some kind of clear follow-up.
And Wesley has 3 minutes, so he doesn't have forever to think about how he wants to improve. So, I mean, I was originally very pessimistic about Black's chances, but the more I look at this, the more I think Danchenko might squeeze out a draw here.
Yeah, just a lot of weaknesses to take care of. It's not just that pawn on d6. It's also that pawn on h5. But the thing about h5, it's so hard to get to that pawn.
It is extremely hard to get to it. And it's like, it's blocking the king. Can't get the rook to the 5th rank. It's annoying.
Yeah, and we have a dark squared bishop. So, of course, we can't get to it with the bishop. And my idea with the king h4 is kind of silly because you can get your rook to the g file, and then we're going to regret having our king so far ahead.
And we've got a couple of results already. Dubov won his game, Fedoseev winning his. So a couple of the favorites striking pretty quickly. We have another
back in on
Kastenyuk's game?
Yeah.
Sure. Because we have lots of stuff happening there.
Ooh, what's going on?
None of it is good for Alexandra.
No, she lost a pawn, it seems, at some point, huh? Or
she lost a pawn and she's going to lose even more. I mean, her pieces are all tangled up. And I think Grishuk smells blood here. Takes, and now, b5 wins a piece. It's over. The knight has no squares. It can't move away and defend the queen simultaneously.
Yikes. All right. Well, there it goes. Grishuk, but a very nice fight by Alexandra. Now, you were showing us another game, I think, with Sarah Black Panther, which is Bibisara, I believe. Bibisara
Sobaeva from Kazakhstan, very, very high-rated woman as well. She's made a name for herself in many recent tournaments. And she is facing off against Anand Sigurov. And she's got drawing chances here with the white pieces, but it's going to be very difficult with 1 minute on the clock.
Wait, okay, what's the situation? She's down a pawn, but if you're black here, you're trying to keep queens on the board because white's king looks very weak. And that
knight is f4.
Yeah, will be much stronger in the middle game than it will be in the end game. I mean, it'll be strong in both, but it's really nice if you have a knight on f4 and you can also use it to checkmate.
This looks like trouble. Yeah, this looks like trouble. I mean, and very tricky move, rook b8. Great practical move, actually, because if you take on b8, you lose your queen. Queen takes b8, king h7, and then bishop b4. But Segura with plenty of time to sidestep those landmines. He goes knight f4 correctly, and this one looks pretty lost for white.
But she is holding on. I like this move, rook e3, just protecting h3, protecting the third rank. The engine bar completely disagrees with that.
This is not, it's because of this move. Because now if you go rook g3, run into knight e2 with a fork. So you have to defend the bishop with the queen. But then Sinan could play perhaps rook d5, intercepting the queen, or rook d2. I mean, I feel like there are lots of rows that lead to Rome here for black.
Nice setup there. I mean, that's what you want. That knight on f4 with no pawns on g or the e file. Certainly a dream.
Yeah, g6, very sort of the slow approach taken by Sinan. And there's no increment here. We remind you that the time control is 10 plus 0. So under a minute now for Bibisara. If nothing else, she might simply end up losing on time. And that's the nasty thing about having these kinds of positions with almost no time on the clock.
Let's see if we can find a game that's close. What else is open?
So Fabi's game is pretty close. I mean, he's on the winning side probably of this end game, but it's not guaranteed. We also have Paravian against Jospem. This one's really heating up. Maybe we should stick to this game for now.
Sure. Okay. It's black's move. They just played bishop b6. Okay. With the idea that if rook e8, what? Check. And
the problem is the pawn's not getting past f2 because this bishop on b5 is a monster.
Yeah, that's why it looks good for white to me.
Ooh. King h1 looked wrong. I think Paravian had to go up to h3. Now Jospem is threatening checkmate. Oh my God, look at this. Check, mate. If white moves his bishop. Oh my God.
Oh, that's a heck of a pattern. So what do we do instead?
I think he has to bail out into a draw. I think he has to promote. And then black takes it and takes b5. Now 35 seconds for Jose. So will there be a rook versus rook flag situation here? I don't think so.
Do you make a queen or a knight with check? Or it doesn't really matter because if you make a queen, you're stopping bishop b6 check anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, you're stopping bishop b6. So Paravian potentially there with a big blunder, missing this mating construction. That's pretty cool. And d8 queen, he acquiesces to the draw. Okay, so we can, with 33 seconds, cool. Jose is going to have no problems. Fabi is also going to draw, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you see that look of disappointment there. Resigning to a draw, as it were.
Indeed, and Raunak Sadwani with a very solid performance, drawing Fabi with black in round 1, nicking him for half a point. We have Ray against Grindelius here. Ray's going to lose this. I think he's got 17 seconds.
Ooh, just 17 seconds. Not good. And his position, not great either, right? Isn't he down 2 pawns?
He is. Yeah. He does have this G-file pressure, and Neil's now dropping to below a minute. Let's see if Ray can pull out a miracle here.
Yeah, well, how do we try to attack here or play for tricks? Play king h2. What kind of tricks?
It's hard to say. Knight g4, maybe. Ooh, Neil's just allowed knight g4. That would have been nasty.
Yeah.
Ray pushing his f pawn instead.
But either way, it seems like there's a little bit more chance for trickies now. Okay. Knight g4 played.
Wait a minute. This is not. Oh, Neil's doesn't have a minute. He's got 35 seconds.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, what's going on now? You said queen takes h5? Oh my.
Didn't work. There black is a queen there. I didn't notice that.
Yes, there was a queen, but e7 also scary, right? Because maybe knight, no. What
knight h6?
Just knight h6? Okay.
And now he's going to take on h5.
Rook e5, similar idea. Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness. Niels is down. He doesn't recapture. Now Ray is winning, but he's got 5 seconds. Can Niels flag him? Oh my goodness, rookie
I don't
5, rookie
know.
F7. I think Niels can flag him. He's got 3 seconds, does Array. Oh,
yes, there's too many checks. Oh no.
he's pre-moving, but Niels is going to win. Niels is going to win. Oh my
yes,
goodness,
there
what
it
a
is.
tragedy.
No time. Oh,
Oh, that's
brutal.
just rough. That is rough, but that's the way it goes because it's 10+0. And that concludes round 1, Jennifer. Lots of action. And this is only round 1 of 9, so nothing has been decided yet. Most of the favorites winning, but Fabi getting held to a draw. We will see how all of these GMs proceed in the next round. First, we're going to go on a quick break. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. We'll be back in 60 seconds. Welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. We are watching round 2 of 9. This is the Saturday Swiss. Tomorrow will be the Sunday knockout as the top 8 players today advance. And Jennifer, it was an action-packed round 1. And one of the very exciting things that we announced was the publication of your brand new book, Chess Queens, an excellent new book about some of the most influential women in chess. And Jennifer, one of the names that pops up very frequently throughout the book is none other than Alexandra Kastenyuk.
Well, she is the chess queen. That's right. Alexandra
Indeed.
Kastenyuk, former women's world champion. The other thing about her is she's just been on top of the game for so long. And what I think people might not quite realize the extent of if they weren't playing actively when she did is how much of a visionary she was when it came to the promotion of chess. She was doing podcasts and Instagram like shoots far long before Twitch and Instagram even existed. So a very impressive young woman for sure. And now she's been on the top 10, I think, of women or close to it for like something like 15 years at this point. So yeah, really interesting to see her succeed in all formats, right? So she's very good at the rapid and the blitz. And of course, she's also the classical women's world champion. The from 2008. So she won the 2008 Women's World Championship ahead of Ho Yifan.
That's crazy.
So underdog.
I think I remember that, but I can't believe that was 14 years ago. And of course, Kastenyuk just won the Women's World Cup, right? Just very recently with a incredible performance.
And at the time when I first wrote about women in chess, Alexandra was pretty controversial. She was known as the Anna Kournikova of chess because she's So beautiful. And also she was doing all these fashion photo shoots for Vogue all over the place. And this was before, like now it's like really normal that people kind of like merge their, you know, professional life with their like media persona, but it wasn't as normal when she did it. That's what I mean by the fact that she was like so ahead of her time. But the game, she looks like she got a double white, right? She was white.
She got a double white.
And
now she's playing Drev.
And some of these ratings are a little all over the place because they're the rapid ratings, right? So
yeah, there's some of them are pretty close to meaningless. This is looking quite good for Kastenyuk. She's got both of her bishops developed. Very unusual position. I mean, this was, can't even tell what opening this was. This was an Alpen Sicilian of some sort. And very hard to put one's finger on who's better here, or even what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the material is even, right? But a very unusual structure, to say the least. E5 was threatened, so she put her queen back on E2.
Could go C4 here to stop knight D5. She does.
Yeah, and also to try to get our knight on B1 developed, right? Because we couldn't, because you could have just taken on C3.
Exactly. Now it can come to E4.
Yeah, that's what I'm dreaming of, right? Can Black try to find a way to play E5 anyway? I feel like that would be really useful.
F6 is possible, but quite weakening. So it's a double-edged sword. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, it seems like a little bit more difficult to play this position for Black. Because like I'm trying to find out like what my next move is for Black. Do I want to play knight C6 and go for E5? And it looks like that is what Drev chose. You play knight C6.
Yep.
We can't really play E5 right away because you have bishop takes C6 check anyway.
Correct. So white could play knight D2 here. Oh, but then there's G5. Ooh. So, and that's why Alexander just played H4 to stop G5 and create this square for her bishop if necessary.
So G5 would have actually just trapped the bishop. That's, well, I
literally.
Guess we would have had to play bishop takes C6 and bishop E5, right?
But then there would be F6.
True. Oh, wow. That's very unusual.
So this is actually a necessary move, this H4. And yeah, very complicated position. We'll see how this one develops. We have we have Grishuk against Dubov on the top board.
Well, let's take a look at that. That's going to be a fun one. Well, here it is. So I'm trying to get my bearings here. It looks like.
Yeah, same. Well, my first question is, like, doesn't D5 win a piece? And I guess it doesn't, because for one thing, for starters, white has queen takes B6 at some point. Queen takes B6, DE, and queen takes B7. Maybe not exactly in this position, because this looks really scary. The pawn is rumbling toward E2.
E3 looks extremely scary because, you know, we can't play queen E4. You just take and play E2.
Right.
So what's the deal there?
I think white actually has to take first and now play queen takes B6. No, it's something else. Maybe queen C3. That's it. It's queen C3. That's safer.
This type of switchback move here, huh?
D5 has been played.
So taking and then queen C3. Such an important tactic, right? Defending by taking advantage of the fact that your queen on E5 is loose.
Exactly. These are hard defensive tactics to find, because people just kind of often assume, oh, my knight's pinned, that's it. But you can use the pinned knight as itself a defender. And queen C3 straight away played by Grishuk. So he doesn't take on D5
first. Right, okay.
How does that change the position?
Black could trade queens, or could we move to, what are other options besides trading queens? If we don't trade queens, there is some knight D6 action that could be bothersome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, queen H5 might run into knight D6. You could go queen B8, but that seems really passive. Black's position just doesn't seem fundamentally sound here. It's full of weaknesses, full of holes. And this knight on F4 is all by its lonesome, is not very dangerous for white. It's not causing any problems. The bishop on F1, very nice defender, keeping everything together. I think Dubov might have to take on C3 and just bite the bullet and try to defend a slightly worse endgame, and he does.
Yeah, that's true. And it was like we were talking about last round that knight on f4 is so much more attractive in a middle game. I mean, in an end game, sure, it's a decent square for the knight, but it's not scary. We're not going to
No.
get checkmated.
No, absolutely not. And no question that black is slightly worse here, but I think with accurate play, Dubov should be able to hold this. Rook AC8 maybe should be thrown in. That just seems like an automatic move. But he's got weakness. Ooh, knight takes g2. No automatic moves here.
Knight takes g2. Okay, what's going on? You're getting just 2 pawns though.
You're
right?
getting,
You're
maybe
getting
just one.
Huh.
So let's say takes, king g3
Yeah, let's
takes. Now white can throw in bishop takes c6 for free, and then rook takes d1.
Yeah.
Oh, but in this case, black has rook e8, and there's this deadly idea of rook e3.
Oh shoot! And if I play rook d6, you have rook f6, right?
Exactly.
Renewing the idea. Shoot. That's
annoying.
And suddenly the tables have turned, and it's black who's winning. Oh boy. So what do we do?
King g1. Probably white should play king g1. That's actually not the easiest thing to spot. To go back to g1, and then in the same line, black doesn't have this rook e3 check idea. Now, this is a very hard position to evaluate. White should be better, materially speaking, but black's got very active rooks, and minor pieces are notoriously bad at coordinating in these kinds of endgames. So a very interesting practical decision made by Dubov. I like it.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Great eye there. You know, rather than suffer, throw this into an imbalance. And, you know, in a middle game, having the 2 pieces is so lovely, but in an end game, it's harder to really make hay out of them. And the rooks
it
are
definitely
so
is
beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Grishuk can decline this. He could play bishop takes c6 now, and then, for instance, drop his bishop back to d5, but that just doesn't look appetizing. I think there's a high probability we see that position on the board with the 2 pieces.
So you're saying bishop takes c6 check, king h8, bishop d5, and then after bishop d5, knight d5, why? What's up there? Let's take a look.
Well, black can go knight h4, for instance.
Right.
This feels like a liquidation and possibly a draw. White takes this pawn, black takes that pawn.
Right, yeah.
And this just seems like one of those drawish types of endgames. Okay, so ooh, so he's gone king g3, but he saw this trick with rook e8, so he's leaving this e6 pawn alive for the time being.
That's smart, because it's going to be hard to defend it, really. And the whole point of having the rooks over the minor pieces is you want those open files. So it's not like you really want to have your rook on e8, and then after rook d6, we can start taking the queen side pawns off. That's super appealing. We'll let you have the one on e6.
Yeah, black might want to play rook a d8 or rook f d8, and like you said, it's so much more important to stop rook d6 than to cling to this, to this pawn that's half dead anyway. So we'll see what decision Dubov makes. We have a couple of other top games here, and Dubov, here goes rook a d8, so we'll keep an eye on this one. We've got Wesley. We've got a really crazy game. I think Wesley's just crushing Alexenko, actually.
Ooh, look at this. So what is this? Is this an attack gone wrong? It is Wesley with the black pieces, and he's got this fortress of pawns defending against all white threats here, right?
Yeah, he's up a pawn, and he's got just domination in the center. Alexenko's pieces look nice on the queen side, but like you said, there's 0 threats and 0 possibility to create threats because the knight can't move. It's pinned to the f2 pawn.
And if rook a3, what happens if we play rook a3?
I think black plays a5.
You just play a5, and we've got no more fun ideas, like, because knight b3 is not allowed because the queen takes f2, right?
Exactly. You could take on a5 technically, but I mean, this doesn't provide. Okay, apparently there's some sort of a killer move here. Oh, there's rook d1 check. Oof.
Well, that's
a nice tactic, and distracting the rook and then winning the queen because the rook will no longer be pinning the king.
And then if king h2, I guess you just run. If king h2,
well, then you just take on b1.
You take on b1 and the queen a6 check. Wait, what happened? Sorry.
Oh wait, no, that's you take on a5 first, and then you take on b1.
Okay, yeah, you got it.
That's the right order. Yeah, otherwise you get mated. That's true.
Yeah, nice one though. Nice to see all these cute lines. This actually happened. So rook a3, a5 are on the board. White realizing that he cannot take on a5 because of this lovely rook d1 check distraction move. So
Yeah,
what to
this
do
looks.
instead?
No, I think
F1?
white is busted. You probably have to go rook
F1
f1.
threatening knight b3.
Yeah, I think you have to do that, but he's also got 2.5 minutes to Wesley's almost 5. Rook f1, a practical decision would be, oops, sorry, he didn't do that. He went king h1, so similar type of idea. He's now is threatening knight b3. For starters, Wesley could go, no, maybe queen c4. In that case, there is queen takes a5. I think. So he's got to be careful.
And we don't want to allow you to play knight b3, not as much because you win an exchange, but we don't want you to play knight takes a5, right? So that could be kind of annoying. Like if I was to play rook f2 or something, you could still play knight b3, and it's still annoying because you're going to play knight a5 with check. So what to do? What's the defensive move here?
Yeah, there's got to be sort of one move here. Knight c4 looks really promising because you're attacking the rook, forcing rook b3, and once the rook goes to b3, I think that's at least one of the winning moves. Then you've gotten away scot-free. You can play rook takes f2, or no, I guess you can't. Oh, because of knight e6, and the queen loses contact with the knight. So there's tricks everywhere here, surprisingly.
So you have to be more solid than rook takes f2. Okay, so that's why king h1, we're starting to see that king h1 was extremely clever move. Because,
yes.
That's what you do when you're losing. You come up with moves like king h1. Well, that's what these incredible blitz players do, at least.
And rook d8 by Wesley, a great idea. So he wants to meet knight b3 with rook d1 check. He's preemptively sort of doubling his rooks. And then if king h2, it appears that there might be checkmate with knight f3. And if gf3, you get mated on f2. Nice little flurry of checks there. I mean, all of that is pretty straightforward. That's
it's just kind of ironic move. Though, because white is trying so hard to checkmate black, and somehow it's like so easy for black.
Yeah, rook back to b3.
Really, I mean, that extra pawn defending the king side is so powerful, right? That's like Wesley's just got this little fortress.
It's holding everything together. White's got no entry points. This is going to be a win for Wesley. He's going to jump to 2 out of 2.
Very nice. And, very nice start.
We also have, okay, this one's not very interesting. This looks like a draw between Alexei Sarana and Sigurov. So we can skip this one perhaps and go to a more interesting position. Grandelius against Kovalenko.
Ooh, this looks incredibly interesting. Look at that king on f7. Okay.
Wow.
It's white's move here, and knight e2 was played. Okay. I guess there was some reason they didn't want to take on d4. Maybe bishop c5.
Maybe bishop c5.
Like
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Igor's going to flag at this, right?
Well, yeah. Gotta watch that clock. That's for sure.
He has to move. I mean, the position doesn't even matter at some point. If you're below a minute in the middle game, you just don't have a chance. And Grandelius did this against Robson in the previous round. Ray was winning in the final position. Didn't matter. No, that's right. I don't know. Igor's got to move. He's literally just frozen, and he's got a minute now. He's basically playing a bullet game in this position.
It's so hard to play for black, though. It's like surprising to me that the engine thinks this is equal, because it just seems like so much easier to play for white. Your king's on f7. Your bishops aren't doing anything yet.
Right.
Very tough.
These kinds of ideas. Rook c1, rook c7. White could throw an h3 at any moment, create some lufts, such as right now.
At least now we're threatening rook takes e2. I mean, that's cool. But h3 prevents it, of course. And there we have it.
When Kovalenko finally speeds up, plays queen g6 and queen takes d4.
I don't want to trade queens. No.
Absolutely not. Even if objectively it was best to trade queens, from a time perspective, this makes perfect sense. Knight f4 is, ooh, wait a minute. Now, if you play knight f4, the bishop on g3 can be captured. Oh, Niels blundered it. Oh, he blunders the bishop. Oh my goodness.
He lets it. Uh-oh.
You forgot about the pin.
No, you can blitz somebody, but not in this position. Not in this position.
Maybe he should have traded queens after all. Now, Igor has 44 seconds. It should be enough to win this position. I mean, black wants to go g5 as a follow-up and knock this knight off of f4 and There's a mate on G2 on the card. So King H1, can Niels
Rookie 2
flag
stop
him?
is possible as well. But I just have
Take
to
the
say
queen.
how insane it is that I was talking about how much easier the game was to play for
Right.
because the bishops weren't working.
It's your fault. He's going to blame you.
It goes to show you how quickly bad bishops can turn into glorious bishops. It doesn't
Yep.
take long.
There they are. And Igor, 91's a very tricky move, forcing the rook back to C7. Igor is a decent bullet player, but he's no, Andrew Tang. So let's see how he fares here. Rook G6. Niels trying to stir up whatever counterplay he can. So far, so good for Igor.
So knight H6 check now allowed to king H7. So even though you take a pawn, we get a double attack.
Right.
So he avoided that.
He's okay, but here comes the rook to F2. You got to go. And if rook G6, there's going to be rook E7 and the knight on E5 is going to be lost. This is completely, I don't think he's going to survive this for longer than another 5 moves.
Yeah, this is 25 seconds. He's going to get it done here because there's also mating ideas, right? With these 2 bishops. So
Rook G1, rook E2. Yep. Yeah, he's definitely doing a great job. He doesn't even take the rook. He just goes after the knight, which is the fastest path to checkmate. And bishop takes G2 there was mate. Rook C1 is mate. And he wins. Great game for Kovalenko. Great game for Kovalenko. We've got a couple games still going. We've got Gata against Ray in this position. Now Gata could go for the flag here.
Okay, so they both have 30 seconds though.
Yeah, this is obviously a draw. Knight and bishop against knight is a draw. But if Ray loses on time, there is sufficient mating material, so he will lose. Let's see.
So they're almost the same on time, but as we've been talking, it looks like Ray's got an extra 5 seconds. So of course, very, very fast player.
And let me say something crazy. Gata's got to take that pawn on G3 at some point because he's not the fastest and Ray currently has sufficient mating material, Jennifer. So if Gata has to take this pawn right about now, King F3.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, he knows. And Ray tries to cling to it, knight G7. Oh my goodness. He might not be able to take that pawn.
Oh no.
Oh my God, Gata's gonna lose. Gata's gonna lose. What is he doing? He had to, what is Gata doing? He had so many chances to take that pawn. He's got to be aware of that. Oh
He's
my
not happy.
goodness.
Oh,
and another flag as Bortnik flagged Bogdan Diach, and Bortnik now has, I think he goes on to, no, he goes on to 1 out of 2, and that concludes the round. Lots of flags here to go around. 2 rounds in the books. Lots to be decided. Wesley on 2 out of 2. Some of the favorites already nicked for half a point and a point. We'll see how this goes on. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase, round 3 on the other side of this break. Rapid Chess Championship is brought to you by Coinbase. Whether you're looking to make your first crypto purchase or you're an experienced trader, Coinbase has you covered. Earn crypto by learning about crypto with Coinbase Earn, explore DeFi and Web3 with Coinbase Wallet, get exclusive rewards when you spend with Coinbase Card, and much more. Learn more at coinbase.com/chess and get $10 in Bitcoin when you sign up and verify your account. We are watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Round 3 is underway. Daniel Naroditsky and Jennifer Shahade chopping it up for you here. And Wesley So, Jennifer, is on 2 out of 2. He seems really confident, but he has a pretty formidable opponent in Vladimir Fedoseev.
Yeah, and here it is, my favorite opening, the Dragon Sicilian. And notice that Wesley So right here did not castle queenside because he wanted to play the move A4. And it's much easier to play A4 when your king's not on C1. So some very subtle move orders there played by Wesley to try to detooth this dragon.
Yeah, and I think he successfully defanged it. I mean, the pawn on A7 is weak, right? For sure. Wesley's going to castle kingside where the king is perfectly safe. This is not what Fedoseev was looking for when he played the dragon. He was not looking for a slightly worse position with no tactical chances.
No, he wanted that king on C1. And usually when we play the move F3, we castle queenside, but not
right.
always. And
yeah, and Queen B8.
What can he try? Oh, so he's played Queen B8. Okay, so looking at that B2 pawn. So now, can you just castle kingside here? What happens? And then if Queen takes B2, there would be knight. Queen B2. I'm just thinking there still might be some. Oh,
Rook B1 traps the queen. Yeah, for start. I mean, I'm sure there's other moves too, and he has castles.
So we can't take on B2.
I guess.
Can we play queen? Can we play Queen B4? What happens there? No, that doesn't seem to work. No, none of our tactics work here because you always have these like bishop. You can probably just play bishop takes F6. Yeah.
And white takes more pieces than black. Takes G7 and then rook takes A4. That's actually a threat. Bishop takes F6 is a legitimate threat here. So he's forcing Vladimir's hand. I mean, another thing, you can't play bishop B6 there because of bishop C6. Queen B7. I like that move by Fedoseev. He's connecting his rooks. I think he wants to bring his F rook to C8 and his A rook to B8, maybe create some counterplay on the queen side, but that weak A pawn is what really concerns me about black's position. If white doubles on the A file, if Wesley wins that pawn, things are going to look really grim for black.
But you're right, Queen B7, an excellent move, kind of doing a couple of things at once. And that's what a lot of good moves have in common.
Yeah, rook C8, rook B8 is what he wants. Wesley trades on D7.
So what happens if you always have to ask yourself in the dragon, okay, well, it's too late now, but I was wondering, you always have to ask about these knight D5 ideas. How are you going to gracefully deal with them, right? Because it's a little awkward sometimes to defend that E7 pawn. I guess you could just play rook E8 here, rook on F to E8.
He might have to. I mean, the question, I guess, is also, does he take on D4 first? Or, let's say he goes rook E8 straight away. Then Wesley could take on G7 and park his queen on D4 with a similar position. And then Wesley could proceed with his main plan of doubling on the A file. Fedoseev does take on D4. And he goes knight B6. So different way of defending with a queen. That's a good move. And he offered a draw. Wesley's not taking that draw. There's no way Wesley's accepting this draw.
So let's see. What do we want to do here to kind of increase our advantage?
He declined that in about 2 seconds.
Just knight E3, like it, because now you always have to watch now for knight G4, threatening a little knight H6 mate.
Yep, trying to show him his spots. Rook C8 by Vladimir. As he's not too worried about his king safety. I mean, Wesley doesn't have enough pieces to attack with him. There comes the rook sliding up to A5 and preparing to double and potentially lift the rook up in certain situations. You could have some tactics going on with knight F5. It's not out of the question.
Yeah, knight F5 is also a dangerous idea. You got to watch it because even though there's not a lot of pieces in the king side, the fact that you have played the dragon and you lost your dragon bishop gives you tons of weaknesses. That is the thing I don't like about the dragon. If I lose the dragon bishop, not so happy.
Right. I was thinking about a ridiculous idea here, but I can't quite make it work. It was knight C4. Oh, he plays it. just as I was saying it, he plays it. And apparently it's correct. So the point is knight takes c4, there's queen b4, and white is unable to sustain the knight, because if you play b3, then there's rook takes c4.
Yeah, b3, rook c4, nice idea. It's the kind of idea that you'd expect white to have some kind of like in-between move or some kind of tricky thing that would refute it, but apparently it's not there.
This seems like an equalizing move. So takes queen b4. White could play rook takes a7, but I feel like in the resulting position, black's two pieces are incredibly active, and black is just going to chop up white's entire queen side. You're going to have a mass bailout, and I think a draw. What a move by Fedoseev. Oh, he plays rook takes c4. So that's even simpler. That's even simpler.
Right.
Takes and then queen b6.
Queen b6 check. All right. Well, a really well played dragon. I mean, clearly the player is very well prepared in this line.
Wow. Yeah,
And
I mean, it looked like Wesley was better, but Fedoseev, amazing.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you're going to play a line like the dragon, you better defend well, because for a world-class player like Wesley, you're going to get attacked with everything he has.
Right.
And
queen b5. I think a draw for might be forthcoming now from Wesley pretty soon.
yeah. All right. Well, let's take a look at one of the other games on the top boards then. We have Kovalenko.
Yep, we have
Got a tool
Kovalenko against Matlakov. Ooh, this one is quite a bit more unbalanced.
Okay, so currently white has still got their king in the center and probably gonna what do you think, castling queenside or just sticking it on d2?
Yeah,
What do you think the
d2,
fate of that
e2.
king? E2 or d2?
It's hard to say. I mean, my inclination would be to castle queenside, and you know, somehow that just seems a little bit safer, although you could be walking into something like b4.
Yeah, that's why you're also considering the move king e2, because then your rook on a1 is actually arguably better than the rook on d1.
Right.
Because that's really the question. Where do you want your rook?
Yeah, it's very hard to say. He goes h4, so he doesn't make a decision just yet. H4 does make sense. Mm-hmm.
Just bide your time. Try to see where the queen goes, and then decide what to do with your king.
And he can go h5. He can just leave it on e1 for the time being.
True. H5, dangerous looking move for sure.
You can try to dare Matlakov to prove that he can create something in the center. It was b3. Interesting move.
That was very surprising to me. B3 was not. It would have been like the 20th move I would have guessed. But
yeah, you think castle or h5? No, b3
or king e2 or king d2 or so many other things I would have guessed first. But what is the point? We gotta figure out. Did he just want to stop a4? What I don't know.
I think he wants to stop I think he wants to take the sting out of b4. I think what worried him about something like castles is after b4, not only does the queen side open up, but the bishop has to move away from the long diagonal, and the pressure on g7 is a very important component of white's play. So here b4 is just simply met with bishop b2, and white keeps the bishop on the long diagonal. I think this actually might be an excellent move. Prophylaxis.
Yeah, it's a really cool move. So surprising. But yeah, what you're saying now makes sense, that we actually want that bishop on the diagonal, and keeping our king on e1 for a couple extra moves feels so unintuitive, but no way for black to punish it.
It's a grandmaster move for sure. And this is one of those things that, these 2650s, 2700s do really well. They, even in very sharp positions, they'll all of a sudden play a very slow move. And our instincts is, well, how can they, why aren't they attacking? Why aren't they castling? But they solve the most important problems first, and they know where pieces belong. Like Kovalenko senses the bishop has to remain on this diagonal, and this is the most important thing. And, it's worth playing a move like b3 to keep the bishop on that diagonal. And this might pay off big time. I think he's much better. a4.
Yeah.
Woof. Matlakov trying his best to do something on the queen side.
A4. Yeah, I mean, looks like a really cool move, but let's see what the idea is. What if we take the pawn on a4?
He does. I don't get it.
That's the problem, because I wanted to the follow up. if you could follow up with b3 or something, but you can't because I can just take it. And then I'm attacking, and taking on a3 it seems even worse because then there's this bishop takes a3 with a tempo.
I think Maxime decided to play a4 first and then think later. You go c5. There goes another pawn.
c5. Yeah, I like c5 though, because at least we're threatening bishop takes bishop and we're trying to open things up a little bit with your king on e1.
But on the other hand, it opens up white's bishop. So
True. But when you're,
he's got to try something.
Yeah, when you're in a bad situation, chaos favors. Chaos favors the worst player, right?
For sure. Yeah. And the question is, okay, does he play b takes a3, try to stick his queen on b4, maybe rook a c8? I mean, white's not threatening anything just yet, I don't think, although things are brewing on the king side. I mean, h5, h6. He goes e5, so he tries to shut out white's bishop, at least buy himself some time.
Cool idea. Because I've been dying to get my knight into the fun. Play like knight e4 without having to get checkmated on g7. Looks like a very reasonable move. And so if you take on b4 now, I have queen takes b4 check, which is very convenient. So
Igor
that's
throwing in
happen.
c6.
Oh, c6. That looks smart.
Queen b6, and now a big moment. How does white coordinate? Rook g5, another move that flickered across my mind's eye. Hitting that pawn on e5. If you can reopen the bishop, that would be very valuable. He goes h5.
Like h5, okay, but that also has this idea of just like making the a1 h8 diagonal wide open, right? So h6, and then you're going to be in big trouble if anything ever opens up.
And the knight's going to be softened up. It's no longer going to be anchored by the pawn. And
knight h5 looks suicidal.
Yeah, queen f5. Ugh.
Yeah. Queen f5, it looks like the end of the story. I'm starting like 5 things here.
Yep. And can we really quickly pop back into the Fedoseev game, because they have a pawn end game?
Oh, so they didn't draw. So the Fedoseev game against Wesley So actually continued.
It's a game. I mean, this is quite unbalanced, actually. It might still be a draw. It might be a mutual fortress situation, but Fedoseev actually has chances here. He's the only one who can do anything here. He's got the protected passer.
Right.
Wesley has to be very careful.
The white king can never go to e5 because we just have e3 and then we make a queen. Whereas if the king ever has to abdicate the c4 square, well, that could be very promising.
And now Fedoseev could he goes h5.
Okay, h5. So why h5 there?
I think he's trying to prevent Wesley from breaking through with g4. What's important, I think Fedoseev wants to play a4, and what he has to avoid is a situation where his king is, in Timbuktu, and white goes h3, g4, and creates a passed f pawn, promotes it. And that actually might be the reason why black can't go a4, because of this constant possibility of h3, g4. So let's see. He's also trying to force Zugzwang. Ooh, white.
I see what you're saying. So
like if white moves back, then king c5.
So if our king goes too far away, then you have the h3, g4 breakthrough idea with the f pawn running.
Right.
Got it. Okay. That's interesting. A very fascinating pawn end game.
Evalbar keeps swinging at c4 by Wesley.
Okay. King takes c4, right?
This is very close to winning for black. But now I think Wesley can draw with h3. And then king d4. And then he goes g4, breaking apart black's protected passer. King d6, king d4. So king e6 is probably what Vladimir is going to play. And then the question is going to be, there's also h4. Wait, what if it just goes h4?
If are you talking about Fedoseev if he plays h4 right now?
I think h4 wins. I think h4 wins because if you play g4, the pawn promotes, right? And had you played g takes h4, black just sort of walks the king around and takes everything.
Oh shoot! Okay, you're right, because that's that power of the protected pass pawn that we can't do anything fun.
But Vladimir taking a different approach. He goes king d5. He's going through the center. I just don't understand why I didn't play h4. That seemed like a one on the spot.
But doesn't your move will work anyway, next move, but you're saying White can maybe prevent it by playing h4 himself?
Yeah, but in that case, you're going to induce in that case, White forfeits the possibility of ever playing g4.
And then
Or
you're going
does he?
No, you're right, because we can still play g4 to break through. If you take with the g pawn, we play h5. If you take with the f pawn, f5. So
I think he's got to go h4.
I think so, because your idea of h4 is just too worrisome. I mean, that it's very optically bizarre because you're playing h4, giving me a pass pawn. But yeah, I like you said, you can just march the black king over to take it.
Right. And Wesley, he goes king d2. That apparently is the losing move, king d4. No, but now just king c3, g4, takes f5. Okay, so Wesley's idea is he wants to, okay, and e3 just wins. King d3. It's over. King d3.
And the dragon.
That is save. Wesley
Dragon
declines the draw.
fire.
Incredible. And it seemed like Wesley was not risking at all. He's at a slight edge. And Fedoseev completely outplays him in the second game. What a win over Wesley with the black pieces. Amazing stuff by Vladimir Fedoseev. This is truly an incredible result. He jumps to 3 out of 3.
Game. So instructive, that pawn end game. I mean, I want to take a look at that again later, but let's pop back into Levon Aronion's game.
I actually think we should look at Fabi because he's about to lose. Now, he's made 2 draws, scuffling this tournament, and he might lose to Bortnik here. He's down a rook.
Oh, boy. Down a rook. Uh-oh. And yeah, no.
But, Jennifer, g4 is a huge threat. That traps the queen.
But can't we just play like queen takes h4 then? And then
yeah,
we're
but that's true. But then White's got these monster center pawns. Right. I think that's not what Bortnik wants. He's down to 40 seconds. I don't think he sees a move.
Well,
I don't see a move.
What if we play knight? Wait, we can take on h4 with the knight also.
Still
right?
g4. Still I go g4. He goes queen takes h4.
True.
Now he's down to 30 seconds.
Oh, and look at those pawns go. 30 seconds, 1 minute in the monster pawn for Fabi. 2 rooks.
Black's winning for sure, but it's not the easiest win to convert with 25 seconds. Bortnik, though, bullet specialist. Rook g5 there, I thought. 1 on the spot. Okay. Goes b6.
Just protecting that pawn. Okay. And now if e7, your point is you're just going to play rook g5 and pin us down. But rook e7, okay.
My hands would be shaking if I had this against Fabi. You know you're so close to winning. But now 19 seconds. His clock continues to tick. Fabi's last hope is getting that king to d6. Uh-oh.
There it goes. There the king goes.
He could have gone king d6. He had an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Now
and give up the bishop, right?
Yes, and give up the bishop. Now he's trying to get his bishop to d5. Oh, rook takes c3, rook takes c6 is the idea. So Fabi, very tricky. Look at that move. King back to d5. He's not giving that pawn up without a fight.
8 seconds left.
Oh, c2. No, Bortnik's going to win. Bortnik's going to win.
Yeah, there it is. Oh, just in the nick of time, by just seconds or something.
2. He takes it. Oh, he's going to win. He's going to do it. He's going to make a second queen. This is easy. This is child's play. Bortnik beats Caruana.
1 second. 1 second win. That's a very...
Oh my God, look at this. We got Kovalenko trying to win with a couple of seconds left against Matlakov. He's going to win as well.
Yes, he will, because he's also got that time advantage indeed.
But he's slow, and Matlakov is fast. Kovalenko's going to win. 1. Oh! Okay,
No, don't flag. Don't do it.
Barely.
Okay. I thought at first I thought there was going to be a stalemate also.
Goodness, that was so close. And look at this position. We've got Parham. Is he going to flag? He's going to flag. Aronion's going to win. Oh my God, Levon's going to win. Or is he? Yes, he is. Oh my gosh.
There it is. Yes, he did get the flag with the extra queen. And not enough time to mate, but enough time to flag.
And Alexander, unfortunately, losing to Jose Jospem. This is a brutal tournament. You're on Ota 2 and you're facing Jospem, who's like one of the strongest blitz players on the site. Wow. What an insane round. As Fedoseev defeats Wesley, we have got Kovalenko on 3 out of 3, and those 2 players will face off, will be carefully watching Fabi on 1 out of 3. He's got some coming back to do. So a lot to be decided. Round 3 in the books. We're going to take a short break. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. This is week 6. We'll be back with round 4 very soon. The third and final leg of the FIDE Grand Prix begins Tuesday, March 22nd. Watch as Hikaru Nakamura, Dmitry Andreikin, Levon Aronian, Anish Giri, and the rest of the field compete for the 2 qualifying spots in the candidates tournament. Catch the best coverage of the FIDE Grand Prix right here on chess.com starting March 22nd. Right now, we're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. This is the Saturday Swiss to determine the 8 players who will advance to tomorrow's Sunday knockout. And we've got 2 players, only 2 players with 3 out of 3. Jennifer, that's a testament to how unbelievably strong this tournament is.
Oh, it's been riveting action so far, Ed. And we're going to jump right in to our 2 perfect players.
Yep, Fedoseev against Igor Kovalenko. Not the players that one would necessarily expect. You would think Fabi, Aronian. Aronian has 2.5 out of 3. He's doing well, but Fabi is getting blasted this tournament. He's on 1 out of 3. Okay, so what do we have here?
Knight A4 has just been played. Okay, looking at the weakness of that B6 pawn. So how do we take advantage of it? B4 played.
A hedgehog structure. This looks really good for Fedoseev. I mean, Kovalenko hasn't even completed the structure yet, and Fedoseev is already on the verge of playing C5 and just blasting through on the queen side. Okay, he castles. Probably going to see D6 from Kovalenko.
Yeah, these are tough positions to play for Black. But as you mentioned, if White can get in the move C5, certainly very happy.
Yeah, you can also play Queen D2 here and prevent. I mean, that knight from G6 is potentially swinging over to F4. I wouldn't allow that if I were Fedoseev, and he goes G3, prevents it directly.
Yeah, you really want to trade pieces here as Black, and you really don't as White.
No.
So it's a matter of keeping your opponent unhappy.
Yep,
and
H5. Wow.
Trying to show, okay, well, you played G3, but now maybe I can nip at that G3 pawn with the move H4 next. So not making it a secret.
Yeah, no, not at all. And definitely committal, pushing a pawn in front of his king. But Black's position very cramped. He's got to create counterplay, and this is Kovalenko's style. He's a very dynamic player. Both of them really are. So this promised to be a good game, and you can already tell that it will be.
Okay, so what to do here is White now, because all right, the cool thing is I can't just play F4 because the E4 pawn is hanging. So Queen E1 was Fedoseev's choice, bolstering the G3 point. Which seems really logical.
H4, C5, now B5 immediately forcing the knight back to C3. Now Fedoseev has gotten this pawn anchored on C5.
Love it. That was a great anchor. And you rejected knight B6 because even though the knight nestles into Black's position, it doesn't do anything there, right?
Yeah, it's sort of, and then you can't get it back, right? So Fedoseev deciding on a slightly safer approach, knight C3. Now the question for Kovalenko is, does he trade on g3? Does he leave the pawn on h4? And how does he free himself? This pawn on c5 is very annoying. You would want to go d6, but if you do it too early, you might even walk into c6. And then you can't really take the pawn because of knight d5. Ugh. This gets nasty.
Ugh was called.
Right, exactly.
Apparently they had to disagree with you, but we'll puzzle that out later if it comes to it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I guess.
So rook d8 was the play. So probably he wants to squeeze his queen back to b8. So kind of unraveling his pieces a little bit here.
King g2 by Fedoseev in response. Just sort of, and this is pretty standard for the hedgehog structure. Both sides kind of improving their position slowly, but whoa, there we go. d5 c6 has been played.
Oh boy, d5 c6. I wasn't expecting that.
Buckle your seatbelts. And now there's even sacrifices on b5 that have to be considered.
Yeah. This is looking very exciting, but particularly exciting for white because you got that pawn on c6. And I do think, though, that the bishop on c8, the cool thing about it is that we might have some ideas of sticking a pawn on h3 now that the bishop is actually potentially in a more important line.
Yeah, absolutely. And black actually also has a threat to play e6, e5. And this opens up the bishop. This chases the knight away. And then you can follow up with d5, d4 with the fork. So Fedoseev resolving the tension, taking on d5. The engine did not like that move. And Kovalenko can take back with the knight. This seems like the most natural move, and he does. Okay.
Yeah, because look at all this action now. We're starting to really feel that black has something on the king side. I mean,
yeah.
Your king, your pawn structure has been weakened. We have the option of playing h3, but we don't have to do it right away because you can't do anything to stop it.
And now e5. And now Kovalenko blasting open the center. And white's king is the one that ends up in the most dangerous spot, Jennifer, in the end. Not black's king, white's king.
And it's not just the king, it's also like your minor pieces.
Yeah.
Could find some disharmony, right? Like the bishop on e3 is completely loose. So if you take on e5, we can even consider queen e5 and rook e5.
And the pawn on c6 is not dangerous. It's being restrained fully by the bishop and the queen currently.
So I guess going back, like thinking backwards, maybe that knight takes b5 sacrifices were kind of important for Fedoseev to, create an advantage, because this looks a little scary. Now, which piece do we take with on e5? So many choices.
There are, all three options are viable, which is not the most, not optimal in a rapid game when you've got a choice like this, but you just want to go with your gut. And we can expect Kovalenko to play pretty fast here. I think queen takes e5. This looks right to me. This just looks right to me because this hits the bishop, it hits the knight. And I guess white can play queen f2 and try to keep everything stabilized, but he takes with a rook. He waited for me to say that. And then he's like, nope, rook takes e5.
Rook takes e5, and don't forget, we also have these h3 check ideas in the offing. So you got to be watch out.
I don't know, but they're playing so fast here. Take on g3, bishop g5. So he's almost forcing the trade of bishops, trying to get his rook onto the g file.
Okay, and then we're also going to be looking at playing the move knight h4 check.
True, although
but you could
white can park a rook on h1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like this could have been worse because that bishop on, it looked like things could get really scary for white here as trades seem in the offing. Maybe white will find some nice defenses.
I think another thing Kovalenko might be attracted to is knight f4. Sorry, go ahead.
No. And this actually happened. Okay. Did it? This all happened?
No. I was just showing that as a sample line. He's still thinking. Fedoseev's still thinking in this position. I think he might be considering rook c3, but he does take on g5. And now another decision to be made for white. Rook h1 is what I was showing with knight f4 check, a possibility that white has to factor in. He goes bishop d3. Okay. It was bishop d3. What a tense position.
So now rook h1, knight f4, queen f4, queen f4. That could be a fun little draw or something there.
Oh yeah, with bishop h7 in the end. That's pretty cool. Yep, but I don't see exactly. Okay, so rook d8. And this has the benefit of opening up the f8 square for the king. So if there's ever a problem down the h file, the king does have an escape route.
Right. So that little idea I was just trying would not work anymore because you would just slide your king over to f8.
Bishop takes g6, eliminating the knight. Now we have a knight versus bishop scenario. Pawn on c6, still going strong. It's now protected by the knight. But if Kovalenko can get his bit, ooh, that's a good move. Queen f4, challenging black's queen and offering a queen trade.
And we don't have time for rook takes d4 because the queen on c7 is just hanging.
Right. And if you trade, well, what happens if you trade? Maybe this is even balanced, this endgame after all is said and done. Maybe we'll have a draw.
Oh, because you have like a, but how? How does black defend this? Are you playing?
Okay, well, we're gonna have this. Yeah, they trade. I mean, you could play rook e8. I don't think there is an immediate threat. He goes rook d6, right. So he hits the knight on d4, which can now reposition itself to a5, perhaps. Although you might have to sack the a3 pawn if you're doing that.
I see what you mean, though. It's hard to make a threat. Sure.
And white could end up losing this game as well. You can lose the c6 pawn. This pawn is not invincible. So this is 3 results are possible here. Rook e1, also interesting here. I mean, this is essentially tantamount to a draw offer. I feel like this endgame is just equal. I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, it looks like Fedoseev down over 2 minutes at this point. The chances of him going for something like that kind of increases as his clock ticks down.
Absolutely. He might be sort of thinking, okay, I have this as an emergency option, but do I want to play for a win? And like you're saying, with every passing second, it's going to be less likely that he all of a sudden decides on something crazy. So... no, he goes down f5. I think a similar type of idea. Black could take on f5 and basically make a draw here.
And I think there's a good chance we'll see that. And if we do have a draw in this game, it's going to be 3.5 for both players. It looks like has Levon drawn his game yet? No, not yet.
They're still playing. They actually have a pretty quick. Levon's going to win.
Ooh, look at this.
Levon's crushing Dubov. Look at this position. He's got like pass pawns galore. Bishops everywhere, and it's just stuck there. And
it's so weird.
Rook d1 looks like it's winning. I mean, this looks like a terribly one-sided game. Levon's about to win.
It looks like white had some kind of attack, but Levon managed to trade queens and is winning because, yeah, this is a bizarre position.
Yep, that's exactly what happened. I mean, Dubov, okay, we can... There stuff happened earlier as well, but we had the queen trade. Levon, with this move, h5, very nice move to open up the h7 square for his king. And rook d8, very cold-blooded. Sacking in exchange, but the important thing is that he has one rook on the d file. And now he wins with bishop takes f2. Yeah. Boom. Rook f2, I think he's got e3.
Oh boy, that's amazing. I love that. E3, rook takes d2, pawn takes d2. You've got those 2 pawns. Oh, I love it.
And otherwise, you go rook d1 check and e2. This is totally crushing. Dubov's going to resign in this position. He does. He has resigned.
Nice. So Levon reaches 3.5 points out of 4, and if things go as we expect, then I'll put him in a 3-way tie for first because we think that the top board is likely to be a draw.
Yeah.
I see you're checking in on Grishuk right now.
Crazy position here. You've got passed pawns on either flank. I mean, this is literally 18 results are possible here. I mean, this is just so hard to assess. Impossible to say. Both sides with 3.5 minutes. There's also Bortnik So, which is looking pretty good for Wesley, who lost his game and is trying to rebound. And
yeah, he's got a better bishop here, which is so key in these types of positions with opposite colors, right? The bishop on d4 just hitting the very well-defended f6 pawn, whereas that bishop on e4 is just a monster.
It is a monster. And bishop f2 allows the other rook to stream into d2, potentially, maybe not immediately, but that's just an idea Bortnik has to keep in mind. Okay, this is looking good for Wesley. We can swing back real quickly to the Fedoseev game because now it looks like Kovalenko is taking over the initiative and taking over the clock.
Well, yeah. Well, he'd been ahead in the clock for some time, 2 minutes now, though. And even 2 minutes means more the fewer minutes that are on the clock, right?
Yeah, this is unpleasant for Vladimir, who now has a very passive knight. Now you can't trade rooks if you're right, because you're going to lose the c7 pawn almost immediately if that happens. So he tries to keep the rooks on the board. He gets his knight to e3, but what if rook e7?
Right. So rook e7 and knight f5 check. Our bishop is guarding that square now, so we don't have to worry about it anymore.
Check. Now you don't take on c7.
Yeah.
Maybe go king c6, king b7.
So king c6, and then if I play knight d5, you have rook d7.
Yes, exactly.
Everything is bad for me then.
Yep, everything is nicely defended. I feel like, okay, so king f2, Fedoseev just says, all right, I'm giving away the pawn, but at least I'm going to get my king a little bit closer. He's got drawing chances here. There's no question that this should, ooh, he trades, okay. So he thinks this is a draw. Okay, is it?
Interesting that he made that decision so quickly, thinking that his dark squared pawns, that structure in the queen side, right, does not favor having the light squared bishop if you're trying to win.
And Kovalenko offered a draw. I think Kovalenko just figured that there's just no way to make progress, and he might be right. I think Fedoseev found a very nice fortress. There's no way to create a passer, no way to do anything on the queen side, and a good save there for Fedoseev, whose position looked mighty dubious toward the end of the game. So they both will have 3.5 out of 4. We
Very
are
smart.
looking. Oh, let's look at Grishuk's game because it's getting crazy.
Okay. Yes, this major peace end game. Only majors. Let's see. Big time pressure brewing here as the clock ticks down underneath 1.5 minutes. Rook to d3, threatening to take the pawn on h3 and allowing rook h5.
Queen g3, and we might have a 3-on-3 versus 3 situation where all of the pawns are on opposite from each other. 3 passed pawns versus 3 passed pawns. Okay, so currently we have 1 pawn for white on the king side. So it's a 4-on-1 and a 3-on-0. And Paravian probably will start pushing his pawns pretty soon. There it is, a5.
Okay, so a5 allowing a trade of those 2 pawns.
Which Grishuk accepts, so he trades a5 for h3. Now, Grishuk could keep the other pair of rooks on the board. He could play rook g8, and he does. Black definitely in the driver's seat here, no question about it. Black's the one with all the checks here.
And in the clock as well. So Grishuk certainly looking to put pressure here.
Okay, 1 check, he probes. He could repeat if he wants to, and he might decide that it's not worth going for it, given that Paravian is incredibly fast, and I think that's what he's decided.
Oh yeah, there it is. The three move repetition here.
Well, yep, there it is. Rook a1 check. Grishuk and Paravian draw their game. Understandable decision. I mean, there's no need to take crazy risks because you want to make the top 8. If you're doing well, draws a good result with the black pieces. We have Satorov against Grindelius. Another top-level game. And once again, coming down to the wire is in one of Niels's games. Ooh. What's happening? 3 pawns versus bishop.
Yeah, so could be very, very dangerous for the bishop. Rook b4.
I think you should play rook h8 and rook takes h3 and give up the bishop for the other pawn. And that should be an easy draw.
Yeah, just to make it easy for yourself. Otherwise, you could get very scary. And we see that exact suggestion over the board. So this is going to end in a draw.
Plenty of time for white to make that draw, 55 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is also going to be a draw. Okay, so we can trust him to make that draw. We have Bortnik, who's about to lose. He's got 8 seconds in a lost position against Wesley.
Right. This was the one with that gorgeous bishop and now a gorgeous king.
And we have one of the remaining games is Sarah, who I think is about to be Gadakamsky.
Oh, yes. This is BB Sarah playing against Gadakamsky. Sarah Black Panther.
Completely winning. Gada has this passed pawn on d3. He's down in exchange. And Bibisara could push her A pawn to A6. She does. 15 seconds for Gata as well.
So what kind of
Let's
tricks
see.
can Gata play for? Rook A3 and 94?
Ooh.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
We're in for
94. Be
Or
careful.
Rook A1 check first.
Oh. Rook A1 and knight F2 and knight back to E4 is going to be the construction there. This is not over.
No, it's not. Although he only has 11 seconds, Gata. Can he? What she's thinking
Bibisara's got to
now.
go. Rook A1. Now Gata might be winning. Oh my goodness. Rook H2 is a huge threat. And Rook H2 and Rook H1 mate. Oh my God. Rook B3. I think she's got to go Rook B3. Oh, but the knight F2. Oh my goodness. Is Gata going to win
knight
this?
F2 and D2 check. The rook
She's
and the
now
knight.
lower on the clock. She's got to go. Got to give checks. And
Whoa,
Bibisara
the knight-
recognizes it.
He checks. Yes, he's trying to just check now. Can't
Gata
you give
goes
him
for
a
it.
threat?
Oh.
No, Gata just says no to the perpetual. But he's got 4 seconds, Tanya.
She's going to lose. She's going to lose on time. She's not fast enough. Oh, what a heartbreaker. And Gata pulls it
look
out.
At that. Look at that coordination. In the final position, Danya, the rook, the pawn, the king, and the knight are perfectly placed. And made his threat in. Oh boy.
Unreal. Gata pulls that one out, and that's just what these guys do. What another incredible round, and nobody now has a perfect score. We've got a group with 3.5 out of 4 as we reach the halfway point of the Saturday Swiss. Lots of action. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. We'll take a short break, and we will be back with round 4 in a short few minutes. Welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Women's Grandmaster Jennifer Shahade and James Daniel Naroditsky bring you coverage of Week 6. This is the Saturday Swiss, and Jennifer, breakneck pace in the first 4 rounds as we hit the halfway point. We've got our leaderboard getting pretty well defined, but tons of stuff yet to be decided.
Oh, yes. It's been so great so far, but what else would we expect? So many great players, such a great time control, 10 minutes, 0-second increment. So you get that combination of total chaos and also really deep chess. Love it.
Oh, this is great. And we have Levon Aronian, who is not moving right now against Igor Kovalenko. Levon, get back to your computer.
Oh, I see his cam. There he is.
Okay, there we go. He's back.
Okay, he's eating. And he didn't notice for a second. Okay. Looks like a cracker.
Happens to the best of us. And Levon Alapin. Okay.
Yeah, and Alapin against e6. So doesn't mean he was going to play the Alapin against everything, right? So a nice kind of move order that some people use to avoid certain types of Sicilians.
Yep, and Igor going d5 and queen takes d5, transposing back into one of the main systems against the Alapin overall, which is d5 and knight a3, a6. This is standard fare, knight c4, knight d7 generally. Theory, bishop e2. I've always liked white in these types of positions, to be honest.
So would you normally play like knight f6 against the Alapin lines or something?
Yeah, I have never liked d5. Just something about, I mean, clearly Igor knows his stuff here because he's going really fast. I wonder if knight e5 is a move here. Levon going a4, cutting into black's queenside pawns. Let's see who knows more theory because they're blitzing it out right now.
Oh, it does look like he's eating matzah. He looks like he's eating matzah. Like, wait, matzah, not that yummy. I gotta say, Danya, I'm surprised by that choice.
I like matzah and peanut butter is my preferred combination. But just straight up matzah is, I mean, you gotta at least be drinking something along with it. Like your mouth is gonna get dry.
Peanut butter goes well with everything, though. So I don't think you can give much credit to the matzah.
Fair enough. That's a good point. Valid.
In any case, his position. Well, Kovalenko's got this nice little battery now with the queen and the bishop. But knight on e3 also defends against mate on g2.
Yeah. There's no mate. Levon has not missed mate on one.
Yeah, the matzah has not blinded
interfered
him
with Levon's vision of ones. Yeah. So now a choice for Igor. So probably black will. Oh, but the problem is if black takes and then goes knight back to d7. Is there a problem? No, I don't think there's a problem. I think this is how Kovalenko should continue.
And then bishop f3. You still have queen c6. So just f4. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think black is fine here, but this looks about equal. This looks very balanced. Even the pawn structure is. I mean, the pawns are on the same files. So, and this is happening. He's taken. Guess he could go knight d5, but. Nah, knight d7 is definitely. Levon immediately playing c4. That was his idea.
Okay.
Okay.
So what's the idea here? That if pawn takes c4, now bishop f3?
Don't play knight takes c4. That I can tell you it's not that.
Well, bishop f3 now, same thing, right? You still have that queen c8, which seems to hold everything together. But when we play bishop a8 and queen a8 and knight takes c4, you can't castle for the moment.
Ooh, you've induced a weakness on c5. It's like those Berlin games, you know, where you. Oh, sorry, Jennifer. Go ahead.
Oh no, nothing. Yeah. So you were saying about okay. So queen c6 was played, and then you were saying about a Berlin game.
This reminds me of Levon trying to squeeze out this tiny advantage here. It's like those Berlin end games where on move 35, you know, MBL plays some big novelty, but it produces a 0.0001 advantage. The game still ends in a draw.
They might be looking for that like that tiny chance that their opponent will be unprepared and choose incorrectly. But yeah, it usually doesn't happen in the Berlin. They usually know what to do. So Black thinking at this point, instead of taking on c4, what else is plausible here? Could we just castle to start? No, we don't want to give up the pawn. No. So he did take. And we saw bishop f3 right away. Queen a6, sure, and then takes transposing to the line that you were looking at.
White's better. I'm laughing, but Kovalenko's not laughing. I don't think queen g4 and his position's unpleasant. This is no laughing matter. Rook d1, and you can't castle after queen g4. I think. I think Levon plays it instantly.
Because the bishop.
Alexa, shush. Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
So after g6, bishop h6 anyway, stopping Black from castling.
This is how did this happen? This is equal 2 seconds ago.
I guess Levon's Berlin-esque c4.
What the heck? This literally looked totally fine for Black. He was on the cusp of castling. I think BC was a mistake. I think he had to go b4, first of all.
Yeah.
He definitely had to go b4. BC was really bad.
Yeah, because the knight on c4 is beautiful, because note that queen g4 line is all made possible by the knight on c4, right? Because
and then in this position, this knight is amazing. It's targeting d6, defending e5.
Because otherwise we would probably have some easier way to defend here. Now, after g6, queen f4, and now if we get the rook on f1 into the game, things could topple very quickly.
They are.
How does Black survive?
I don't think he does. Rook d1 is coming. What Black can't castle ever. Kovalenko has lost control of the game, and that's just what happens when you play people like Levon. You make one tiny inaccuracy, another one, boom, you're lost.
And the crazy thing here is Levon is also up 2.5 minutes, and he spent 45 seconds eating matzah.
The guy is unbelievable.
So
it looks like Levon's going to win.
1 minute and 10 seconds.
Yeah, he spent 40 of like you said, 40 of them on the first move.
I shouldn't have said all those bad things about matzah. I'm eating my words.
I shouldn't have said all those bad things about c4. I'm eating my words too. And now he's got this cute tactic. I guess it probably is unnecessary. There is knight e3 here. Actually, maybe it is a good move, because if you play queen takes c5 at the end, there's bishop g7, forking the rook and the knight. And the point of knight e3 could be to dislodge the Black queen from the long diagonal. If queen d4, queen f3, and then the queen targets one of these nasty squares. No, Levon going simple, rook a1, getting the rook involved.
Yeah, I mean, look at the difference in those two rooks. I have rook on h8, never getting a chance to play because you can no longer castle.
Come on, Jennifer, that's an amazing rook. What are you talking about? Rook on h8 is the most powerful piece on the board.
Yeah.
It is accomplishing so much in Black's position.
We just need to figure out a way to play rook on h8 to d8, like fish around him or something.
Right. Yeah,
okay, F5. That's a creative defense. Okay, what's up with that move? F5.
Well, the key question is what happens if en passant, and Levon might be asking that question pretty shortly of Igor. What happens if en passant?
If not, at least we have a chance to maybe play king f7. But try to get ourselves back into the game. So instead, certainly the first choice to look at would be the most forcing move, which is en passant.
Levon plays it. Bishop takes f6. This has to be winning for White somehow. And h4. This is classic Levon, right? He doesn't spend any time. He knows that h4 is probably not the best move, but he also knows that it's practically unbelievably unpleasant to face. Because Kovalenko is totally tied up. Like, queen can't go to d4 because of rook a8. Rook can't move. Knight can't move because the bishop is hanging. And he's got 4 minutes on the clock, and it's ticking down every second.
Oh, yeah. And you know, we made luft, right? So now our rook on a1 can just go to a7 and threaten all sorts of nasty stuff, particularly rook takes d7.
Exactly. Levon just smells blood, and you can just sense it in his
well, he's wearing the
play.
color for it. There it is.
He is.
Red glasses.
Yeah, red everything.
Yeah, you got that king in the background.
Rook a7, rook d8. Igor holding on for now. He's not checkmated yet.
So what's knight b6?
Definitely interesting.
Knight b6.
Queen c6.
And there's no queen d1 check and bishop b5 because I can just play queen takes c5. Your knight is pinned. So that's convenient. But
So he
instead,
goes bishop g5. And the idea, I think, is after the trade, he wants to create an anchor point for the queen on f6. And if he can infiltrate to f6, obviously because the knight is pinned. And another problem with queen f5, there's queen d6. So black has a very hard time holding down all of the infiltration squares.
Oh boy. That's for sure. And yeah, I don't know what is he going to do here?
This looks atrocious. Takes. The eval bar doesn't seem overly concerned. Rook f8. Man, Levon is playing so quickly. He's playing with fire here. Queen h4. Okay.
Another immediate move. And still queen d4. There's
Rook
queen
f7.
h7. So rook f7.
I don't know about queen h4. I would have taken at least 30 seconds there. There were alternatives. You could have gone queen c7. You could have. There was stuff that Levon could have done there. Now this queen is a little bit out of the game, Jennifer. It's just not accomplishing all that much. And Levon sits up.
And now there's
maybe he realizes it.
Because now if knight b6, there's queen d1 check, and queen d6.
Great eye. Yeah. Well, no, not this move. Queen d6 with a fork.
And then suddenly black wins. Oof, not good. So we have, suddenly black has managed to defend everything. Like, even though his position still has lots of weaknesses, it's like the pieces are in that right configuration where everything is doing something.
And
like
you can see the change. Mm-hmm.
The rook I was mocking just a few moves ago, now doing a great job defensively on f7.
Yeah, and you can see the shift in Levon's body language. He kind of sits up. I think he realizes that this is going to be, he's got a difficult task ahead of him. Kovalenko is not going gentle into that good night. The problem is that his clock might be going gentle into that good night. 2.5 minutes, and every move that Aronian makes, he puts more pressure, and it's so hard to play this with black. Every move takes time. Kovalenko doesn't have much of it left.
Well, that's his MO. Levon, that is why he made the move queen h4 quickly, because he was putting so much clock pressure on Kovalenko. But will it backfire? Well, king e8 was just played.
Yeah. Typical Levon move here would be like to play b3 fast, anchoring the knight.
I like it.
Could be an interesting thought. Kovalenko, though, could potentially go knight e5 and try to essentially force as many trades as possible. That has to be calculated.
How do we get our queen back into the game? Because the queen at h4 now is not really sitting so pretty. It's really defending now.
That's why I thought b3 might be interesting, because it allows you to get the queen off of the 4th rank if you can release the burden of defending the knight.
Yeah, I like that. B3. We saw a really weird b3 from Kovalenko, I believe, a couple rounds ago. So, and you're right. If we get our queen to g3, we're introducing threats like knight d6 again.
Yeah.
So Levon, his first big think of the game since the Matza Gambit.
Indeed. Shall we have a 15-second look at the other top game, which is Sarana Fedoseev?
Let's see it.
So Fedoseev dropping down to Alexei, who has 3 out of 4. And another complete mess. White is down in exchange, but tons of pawns hanging everywhere. What's happening? This could be a draw, actually, if Fedoseev just sacks on e4. Goes G4.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, and that looks like what. Oh no, G4. Okay, keeping some pressure here.
Rook d3. I think takes and rook e5 could be an option, just hunting for that pawn.
Takes on f3 and then rook e5. Okay.
Rook e5 immediately. So he's pushing. He is pushing king h2. Okay, I guess we can go back to the running. This one's not quite as interesting, I think.
Yeah. The running is even more interesting, especially because they both have 3.5 points.
And rook a6 was played, and then you just put a knight on d6, and Kovalenko sacrificed his queen for that knight and the rook.
Oh, so he thinks he can get a fortress here. Look at the time, though. Levon had a huge time advantage, and now it's
This is not going to be easy to break down. Now, the problem for Black is that he's got all these weak pawns, and even though he has them protected at the moment, the queen could sort of squirrel and zigzag around and try to overextend Black's pieces.
What's happening with Queen G3 check? There's E5. Okay.
Yeah, I guess E5. Yeah, maybe he still wants to induce that.
Maybe.
I would consider B4 here.
Just trying to open another avenue for your queen.
Exactly.
And then F takes on B4. There's queen takes B4. Check. Queen G3 was played, inducing E5.
Queen G4. Knight C6 by Igor. That's where he wanted his knight to go. This is looking very difficult to protect. He clusters his pieces together. That's the way you have to keep them. Otherwise, you're going to be susceptible to forks.
Right. The queen is so good with double attack.
C4. Ooh, ambitious move, but I don't know about that one. Now the pawn is undefended, but at least he creates a little space for his king on C5. So the king is not quite as cramped. Kovalenko offered a draw, which Levon didn't even think about.
So
I mean, White's not risking here.
So no time advantage anymore for Kovalenko, though. And that's the thing. In this position, it is true that White's the one who has to kind of figure out how to break through. Black's just trying to survive. And knows he just has to keep his pieces defending each other.
And Levon hasn't had too many time scrambles, so he might not be used to, the kind of really fast play that's required. E4 by Igor, trying to trade pawns. He has to take with a rook. I mean, he's bit off more, but then there's Queen G8.
Yeah.
Okay, but this pawn is not the end of the world.
Right, because you just have those doubled pawns. True. You just got those double G pawns. Doesn't matter if
it's a fortress. And it's easy to blunder a fork here. I know this sounds ridiculous, but it's so easy to step into a fork by accident, blunder something. Let's see, Levon.
Now you're talking to the people, Danya. That's right.
King E4, though. Uh-oh, Igor's pinned himself. He's so close to losing. Oh, this is close. Queen F2 check, King B5. He's still holding on. King E5 would walk into Knight D3.
Okay, yeah, keeping us apprised of those knight forks.
Even Queen F6 is a possibility here.
Ooh, Queen F6. And if rook takes F6, pawn F6, that pawn is a queen.
Queen F1 instead. He's trying to go B3. What a sneaky little move. But his king is stuck in the middle. He's got to go King D4.
Trying to keep his queen on a white square, so there are no forks now.
This is okay. He keeps maneuvering king up to D6. The worst is behind White's king, that's for sure.
Okay, so what up now? Let's see. Can we take that pawn on G5? That looks too risky.
It does, but at the same time, yeah, because then the pieces get disconnected.
Queen F7 maybe, threatening Queen B7 check. Nervousness. Oh, B3.
B3, which the eval bar didn't like, but it mates as Knight A5, an excellent defensive move. Defending the pawn with a knight, I didn't even see that. I thought he had to defend it with a rook, but no. This might be the drawing move.
Yeah,
Vaughn might have missed that too.
Surprising that we don't have any ways to play against your loose rook on G5, but like if we play Queen C1 here, you can just take on G2.
Yeah, or move the rook. There's an F5 square that's defended by the pawn. Levon down to 40 seconds. He's got to make a move here because if he's not careful, he's going to get flagged.
Yes, he can't do this.
Maybe just King F6 and make a draw. I think he might just settle for it. He's down to 28 seconds. No, he goes for it. Okay. This could backfire. Levon could lose this.
Yes, he could lose on time. He's only got 25 seconds left. 27, rather.
In fact, I don't like his decision to go for it. I thought he should have given his queen up, or I think he should give perpetual here.
Oh, yes, he can do that. Not too late.
Kovalenko can go for it. Kovalenko could go A4 there, but he decides not to. Perpetual and an amazing defense by Igor.
Heroic defense. I mean, wow. How busted his position looked. It looked completely over.
It did.
How did he do it?
Maybe a little bit too much matzah, too little thinking. Levon got a little relaxed there, and all credit to Igor. That was phenomenal defense. And we
Yes.
saw Fedoseev there defeating Alexei Sarna, so he jumps out on top. Fedoseev having himself an amazing tournament. Dariush is going to win this game against Paravian.
Yeah, that king is cut off, right? That's the ticket. That's what we need to usher our pawn through.
Yeah, this is over. We have Amin against Bortnik, with Bortnik, who should be able to win this. Oh, this is a classic idea. You allow promotion, and then you play king b6, and there's no way to stop checkmate.
We're getting a lot of classic end games. This is a beautiful one. Checkmate coming. And the last one, we also saw the Lucina position. So yes, end game that you study come up over the board.
And another end game here, as we saw a flag, and we see Dariush finishing that effort against Paravian. Another wonderful round. We saw Levon against Kovalenko ending in a draw. Fedoseev clear first with 4.5 out of 5. A lot yet to be decided. The top 8 qualify. We're going to see what happens in the last couple of rounds. So don't go anywhere. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Round 6 on the other side of this break. Welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. This is the Saturday Swiss. Tomorrow will be the Sunday knockout. And the format is probably familiar to most players, but just to quickly recap, it's an 8-player single elimination. Top 8 players from today qualify. The time control, it's not 10 plus 0, it's 10 plus 2. So there will be an increment tomorrow. And if the game in the individual matchup is drawn, there will be 3 plus 2 game, then a 1 plus 1 game, and then an Armageddon. So Jennifer, plenty of action to look forward to tomorrow as well.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. And speaking of fantastic, we've got a very principled battle on our board 1, the knights versus the bishops.
So this was interesting because Levon played a Berlin, and I think he expected Fedoseev to take the Berlin draw, but Vladimir actually goes for it. And this looks terrible for white. I feel like Fedoseev's going to get mated here if he's not careful.
Why does it look terrible? Because the G file and the 2 bishops?
G file, the 2 bishops, the knight on b3 is just not doing anything. Bishop g4, I mean, the white queen is almost trapped. I feel like anytime I see these types of positions in the Berlin, black always wins these. I'm very skeptical of what Vladimir is doing here.
Yeah, it is his move. Okay, so what do we do right now?
So he took and then he castled to the same side. Well, this is, of course, out of the question. Your queen gets trapped.
No.
Right.
Right
Not
away.
appetizing.
So what else?
Black threatens bishop g4.
Bishop g4. So do we have to play knight f5? No, queen f3.
Queen f3. So if queen h6, he wants knight f5. He wants knight f5 probably on the next move against most things.
And bishop g4 allows queen takes f6, and it seems like we live to tell the tale.
Yep, exactly. So from that perspective, some sort of a prophylactic move might be required, but I can't quite put my finger on what Levon should do. The issue with queen h6, knight f5 is that there's also knight e7 check, which you have to keep in account. But maybe you take on f5 and then go king b8 and then go rook g5 and double on the g file.
Yeah.
Simple and pretty strong, I think.
And we got to do something as white about that bishop on b6. Maybe starting with c4. Maybe we have to play c4.
Yeah, maybe you do.
Move. But the idea is rook d3 is not available yet because we have c5 trapping the bishop. And we would love it if you played c5 and killed your own bishop. So what are you going to do?
This reminds me, this is a random analogy, but a4, it's black plays a6. You almost getting to the bishop, but then it slinks away. It's like those displays at the Science Museum where there's an object, and I used to love those when I was a kid. You think it's there, but it's actually a reflection. So you keep grabbing it, but there's nothing actually there. It's like this bishop just keeps dropping back, a7, further and further back, but its shadow is towering across the whole position. So queen f8 and queen f3, and Levon continues to ponder his next move.
And you're right. I mean, that's the power of the bishop, that it can't just slide away, slither away. They should be called
and queen
snakes.
h6.
Queen h6 played, okay.
I think he's taking it. Yeah, Levon doesn't like to spend too long on these straightforward decisions. And Fedoseyev's still in a very difficult spot.
But what do you do against c4 then? So you can't take on d3. What did you say you were going to do after I played c4?
So c4 in this position.
Yeah.
Oh, there's rook takes d3 and if c5, I think rook g5 traps the queen.
Oh, no.
Wait, what am I missing? The eval bar is complaining. I don't see a square for the queen. What? Oh, this is insane. I think there's rook a d1 here. And if you take the queen after rook takes d3, there's the mate threat.
No.
So you're going to lose the rook, but not only are you going to lose the rook, you're going to lose the bishop there too. Like if black goes a6, I'll give you a check. I'll take the bishop and then I'll take the rook.
That's a crazy tactic. That's very unusual. It's like a combination of a whole bunch of different tactics, as a lot of high-level tactics are.
Extremely. So Fedoseyev instead went g3. c4 was really interesting. Rook g5 and rook to g8. So this is kind of what we expected. Now c4 is still possible here and maybe should be played.
Right, because you're piling up. You're getting close to actually threatening rook g3, right? One more heavy and you're going to be threatening it. So after queen h3, rook takes g3 will be a legit threat.
Yeah. No, I think you've got to go c4. No, he goes rook a1. So Fedoseyev doesn't seem too concerned about.
I guess after queen h3.
Yeah, what does he want? Just to show this to the viewers, queen g2, and he's played it. And there would have been rook g3, and we saw a blunder like this earlier in Niels Grandelis' game. We can't forget about the fact that the f2 pawn is pinned in these positions, and that is why Vladimir went king h1, rook h5. Levon pursues him down the h file.
And now queen g2. Okay. All right. So this was his plan, just to defend in this way. Okay.
And now maybe Alaronian wants this.
The reason that white would never blunder that in this game is because the bishop has been on b6 for the whole game and it's been an ag, whereas it kind of popped out of nowhere.
Right. Exactly. And speaking of popping out of nowhere, black's rook quickly traveling to h6.
Uh-oh. What are we going to do now? Rook g1 and knight f1? Okay, knight f3. Knights are good defenders.
Very good defenders. And the point of knight f3 is that, is to play h4. And now this pawn is a defensive bastion against all of black's pieces. You can't sacrifice anything. So Levon immediately switching his attention over to the other side of the board and grabbing space. But Fedoseyev has to feel some relief because that means Levon isn't going to checkmate him. Like he doesn't see exactly how to continue attacking.
Yeah. Well, it does look like you've kind of reached your limit, right? Like all your pieces are in squares. And unfortunately, because of your doubled pawns, you can't add a pawn to the avalanche.
Yep.
Rook e2. Okay, so really well played game so far.
Yeah, very, very sort of, it looked like Levon had this big early initiative, but now he's going back and forth. We might have a repetition here. I mean, neither side can really, white certainly cannot do anything outlandish here. White's king is very weak, but Fedoseyev, the one actually declining the repetition here. You know what's a funny line is if black goes f5, which is terrible for many reasons, but knight h2
Love it.
traps the. Oh, but then there's rook takes h4 here. So maybe that would have been a
Wow.
possible move, but instead bishop c5.
Four, and then king g1.
Wow. And then, but then there's a g file pin.
Such a wild position there, huh? Okay, so c3 trying to finally stymie that bishop with d4. I think we're
Yeah,
gonna
when
get it.
it's-
I think we're gonna stymie that bishop.
Well, it would be classic Fedoseev. I mean, he's so ambitious. He finds a way to play for a win in any position.
Rook g1, okay. And what's going on now? Knight h2 would have been an idea because rook h4, we can just take it. Okay.
Back to e6. We've seen that before, deja vu. And back to f1 goes white's queen. Will Aronian go back to g4? No, he goes f5. Okay, so black, Aronian says he's had enough of this and he's going to try to punish Fedoseev, who has set himself up very cavalierly here, right? Rook is flimsy. I feel like
Yeah.
Vladimir just didn't expect this f5 move and it catches him off guard.
That's true. It's like when you have your pieces configured in a way for a closed position, and then suddenly your opponent opens it up, some things become regrets. Like that
Yep.
king on h1, that loose rook on c2. Can we hold on to everything?
The one time you didn't review your math textbook, there's a pop quiz. So, you know, Levon going queen g4, queen e6, lulling Fedoseev into a false sense of security. Boom. f5 at the most inconvenient moment.
And this is causing Fedoseev to think. Slow down. Queen h3,
Queen
okay.
h3. So he wants, obviously, he wants Levon to take on e4, which would allow a queen trade. Levon's not going to do that. Goes queen f6, stepping aside.
Yeah, because the rooks would look really silly. That's the problem with these rooks that are good for attacking. They don't look so great in an endgame. So that's why
Right.
he said no queen trade right now.
Back to h2 goes Fedoseev's knight. Now the threat here, by the way, was f takes e4, opening up the attack on the knight. So this is an understandable move. But white is really pushed to the edge now.
It looks so terrible. It looks like the pieces are just scattered randomly. I mean, from White's point of view, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Now, one
Look at that
important
L
tactic.
shape.
I mean, this whole thing is just waiting to be toppled over. The one thing in white's favor is that this doesn't work. Rook f1, rook takes g3, and black is always suffering from the fact that his queen is undefended.
Right.
So
Queen g3, right? Cool.
that has to be factored in by Levon. Let's see what he comes up with. He's got 4.5
clearly,
minutes.
It's never going to be easy. No matter what Fedoseev does, he's going to have some trick up his sleeve. That's for sure.
Always. He is, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
yeah.
The rook g1, knight h2, queen h3 defensive formation. Never seen it before.
Whoa. f4 is what Levon chose. Fedoseev shifted his rook and queen d8, hitting him where it hurts on d3.
Oh, there it is. Rook d2, trying to protect it. Okay. What's going on now?
Is he going to go rook d6 here and just reinforce the attack? It's winning according to the eval bar. I'm trying to figure out what exactly is so convincing here.
Yeah, I don't see. What about taking on g3 and bishop e3 is in the position, but
or even immediately.
yeah, bishop. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. Bishop e3 right away.
Well, rook d1 is forced. Oh, and the bishop takes f2. Oh my God. I think that's it. It's bishop e3. Now, if you take the bishop, then your queen gets trapped on h3, right? You can't go to you can't go to e2 because you lose d3. And if you go to d1, it's the same idea repeated. Bishop f2, cutting the legs off. Rook takes g3. Now, the queen does have a square here, but it's
Queen
not much
F1,
solace.
right.
Queen takes h4. But Levon's disconnected. Oh, no. He has the red bar. Okay, he's
my
back, but he
gosh.
plays f5. He missed it. He had bishop takes f2. That was winning on the spot.
Not easy to see bishop takes f2 idea when you're also disconnected. Then you've got,
Yep.
a lot of worries.
Instead, he goes f5 and queen d5 check, which enables a queen trade, potentially. But on black's terms. Now, black is still better here, no question about it. g4. Still very nasty pawns here. And Fedoseev tries to break them up.
Yeah, we need to get that knight back into the game somehow. And we finally blocked the bishop after so many moves. The problem is If we play f3, then our knight is really killed. But if we don't play
Kovalenko.
f3, the pawn on, I guess, so we could play g5 maybe? No, he does play f3. Okay.
Anchors the pawn. Kovalenko already won, by the way. Trying to figure out who he beat. He beat Saric in like
Yeah, I think
5 minutes.
I think Tanak, I think. Because
Yeah,
they
that's
both came in. Yeah.
Ivan Saric from Croatia, very strong GM. So Kovalenko continues his incredible run. He's very likely to make it into the top 8.
Oh yeah, we're at
Okay.
the top 8 watch. That's right, which is a few rounds to go. We got to see who's going to make those top 8 and qualify for tomorrow.
This is very confusing endgame. Fedoseev tries to make space for his knight.
Yeah, we needed that. But maybe you could play h6 before I do that to make sure that you have a weak pawn to play against. Oh, h5.
Stopping it.
Love it. I was thinking h6, which is like the more obvious thing to look up at h5. Gives you a protected pass pawn, but it really dominates that knight on h2.
The 2 pawns are dominating that now. So the knight can't get to g3, can't get to e3, can't get to g4. At the same time, how does black make progress here? Black's bishop isn't exactly the pearl of his position either. I mean, it's just sort of chilling on d6.
Play for c5?
That's one idea. Or you could get the bishop around to g7 and try to pressure d4.
True, true. The bishop is not strong right now. It's just defending f4 that doesn't need to be defended. So why not make that piece better? I love the attitude.
Yeah. Levon starts by improving his king position. No, this is obviously extremely, extremely unpleasant for white, but can Fedoseev find it in himself to keep holding on, keep bleeding Levon's clock down? Rook e6, rook
That's
e2.
the key. Rook e2. Yeah, we got to get that knight into the game. Knight on f1 is desperate. Coach put me in. It's been a long time.
Exactly. Well, will Coach Fedoseev put him in here? But then there might be rook b to e3 with nasty threats. You know, you might go from the frying pan into the fire, as they say. I don't know what to do here. Fedoseev is gasping for air, but Levon keeps pushing him further and further off the board.
Simple chess here. Just centralize your king and start pushing those pawns. Love it. Okay, rook takes e6, king e6. The only thing white has going for himself is those protected pass pawn.
Knight d2. Finally the knight gets into the game, but sort of. I mean, it's not like it's dominating the worlds from d2, but
yeah, it's still in a situation where the pawns dominate every single square. e4, b3, c4.
Unbelievable, honestly, the way that black has dominated the knight. King e2. Okay, now he's baiting Levon into taking d4. I don't know exactly why he can't do that, and he does. Maybe rook c1, rook g1, try to activate the rook. Black's rook is a little bit trapped there for the time being.
Maybe
although you could play c4.
And how do we get that knight into the game? What, knight b1 to c3?
He's trying. That's what he did. Not a bad idea, actually.
Well, finally, we'll actually have maybe a threat with our knight.
I would consider bishop e5 here for black in order to meet knight c3 with a rook c4 and to be able to trade when appropriate on c3. Levon goes c4. So he creates an anchor point for the rook, but now the a4 pawn is weak and can be captured.
That's right. So finally, the knight gets to breathe some fire. But, well, the bishop's going to come back to haunt you on c5 again. Remember, that was such a theme earlier in the game.
That was a great move by Fedoseev. Rook has shifted to d2. This is far from over.
Bishop c5 and d4 are playable, though.
Knight takes a4, though. Oh, but knight takes c5 is going to be check. That's going to be a check.
And we don't have any. So rook d3 check, knight takes c5
yeah, it doesn't work. White might win that. So Levon goes d4, which is great. But now Fedoseev could even try to take and go rook e2. Is the pawn in game possibly a draw? He's got passed pawns on either side of the board. Oh my goodness. Levon has a minute on the clock. What does he do? He has to go for the rook trade. Maybe king f5. I think the move is king f5.
Yeah, play king f5. Okay, he's got under a minute.
No, but now g6. Isn't there g6?
Oh, no. So
is Fedoseev going to win this?
So g6, you're saying g6.
King f6.
King f6, yeah.
And then you take the rook.
And then you
Fedoseev
play
goes
A4?
A4. So it's a combination of these moves, and I feel like white might actually be first. So Fedoseev takes there. Oh my God, this is so sharp. King F4, I guess. G6. Who's going to promote first? They're going to promote at the same time. This is probably going to be a draw. They're promoting at the same time. D2 or E2. Unbelievable how Fedoseev is pulling this off. Black doesn't have anything better than Perpetual.
And even though you got to get the first check, there is no mate.
Unreal. I mean,
Wow.
Fedoseev is back against the wall for what seemed like 50 moves. And he
That's
pulls
2
out a
games in
draw.
row for Levon. That's 2 games in a row for Levon where he was dominating and could only get a draw. How frustrating. Because
Very frustrating.
It was more because of the phenomenal defensive play by his opponents than his inaccuracy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's not like he did anything really that bad. I mean, he missed that beautiful win with Bishop E3, but all credit to Fedoseev. He found one idea after another to keep himself in the game and keep bleeding Levon's clock. We're seeing Wesley about to defeat Jaspam. Wesley continues his very nice comeback from that early loss that he suffered at the hands of I don't remember who it was. Who beat Wesley?
Yeah, Wesley lost. Did he lose to Fedoseev himself?
Oh yes, he lost in that pawn end game to Fedoseev.
The dragon game, yeah. That looked like it was going to be fine. A total draw. We left it, and that was another pawn end game. We've been
So
having
many of them.
pawn end games, yeah.
And they've all been decisive. It seems like none of them have actually ended in draws. And
Except
look at
that
this
last
position.
one.
We
Except
have
the Levon
Niels.
game.
Right. Well, the one we just saw. We have Niels Grindelli is trying to win this with 5 seconds. He's on the verge of mating him. No, this is mate. Bishop C3. Bishop C3 and Rook A2 and Rook A1 is mate.
Oh, nice. Okay. Stopping all the checks and going around for the mate.
But if I were Paravian, I would try to go Rook G7 there. Oh, but wait, is he going to mate? Now I don't know if he's going to make it. Okay,
No.
He is.
Yes, he still will. I see what you're saying, though. You didn't want to lose by 1 second.
Well, David
He still got it done.
David went the wrong way. He had to go King B1 there. In any case, Niels wins, and another incredible game by Fedoseev. Kovalenko, though, is on 5 out of 6, and he's leading together with Fedoseev. Levon close behind. So the top 8 beginning to form. Fabi is back in shared 7th place. So much to be decided in the last 3 rounds, Jennifer. So we're going to go on a short break. And tons of intrigue remaining. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship Week 6 presented by Coinbase. Back with round 7 in just a couple of moments. Welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. We're watching the Saturday Swiss. It's round 7 of 9. And we have Igor Kovalenko and Vladimir Fedoseev, the two leaders thus far. They're not playing each other. They've already played each other. And we have Fabiano Caruana, who after a terrible start, Jennifer, he rose back up and he just made a quick draw against Levon Aronian himself. So Fabi's on 4.5 out of 7. He's put himself in contention for the top 8 for sure, but he might have to win the last round.
Yeah, so I have to keep an eye on him for sure. Well, yes, with these just 3 rounds to go, we're keeping a careful eye on who can make that top 8 to qualify for tomorrow. We're pretty sure that Kovalenko and Fedoseev are going to be in there as well as Levon Aronian. Good chances, unless they collapse in the last few games. But those final 4 spots, very tough.
And it's always, anything is possible. I mean, Kovalenko's playing Wesley. Okay, maybe if he loses this one, 5 out of, as far as I know, 5.5 out of 9 generally qualifies you. Sometimes even 5 out of 9 has qualified, but that's really pushing it. So, ideally 6 out of 9 is basically very, very safely qualifies you and puts you in the top 3. Wow, weird position here between Wesley and Kovalenko.
What's weird about it?
Just lots of stuff going on in the center. Like black has this knight on e4 that's being undermined by the pawn. It's hard to get a handle on who has the initiative here. I guess it's white. White.
Because we're threatening. Well, let's see. What exactly is our threat? Maybe that's
a great question. I guess CD. I think CD.
CD, and then after queen d5, you have knight c3. And then can I play knight takes c3 there? Would that be a threat?
Yeah, and then maybe BC. So for instance, let's say,
I see what you're saying. That's a good point. Yeah.
This is sort of a semi-threat. I think it's more like white's going for the initiative in this line. But now the bishops are sort of bishop and the knight aiming at c6. This could get unpleasant for black as the queen gets tossed around, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that bishop on g2 is gorgeous. So, and all those ramifications would just make it even stronger as the diagonal opens up. So a black will look for something better than rook e8, but what?
Bishop takes d4, decided on by Igor, and knight g5 the follow-up. Okay, so very interesting unconventional idea. He aims for the h3 pawn and perhaps may reposition the knight to e6 later on as well.
Right, okay. So you're saying if h4, knight e6 right away?
Yeah, and if c...
Or you think you'd consider a knight h3 check? That looks weird. You would just have king h2, right?
Yeah, I feel like the knight could get stuck there.
Yeah.
Huh. So what should Wesley do here? I guess, well, CD is one option. There's even
Speaking of getting the knight stuck there, you could play CD for sure. Knight h3 check, king h2.
There's also a ridiculous idea, bishop takes g7. Maybe not so ridiculous, because after CD, if you move the knight back to e7, then h4 basically traps the knight on g5, because we already established that knight h3, king h2 wins the knight.
Except now f2 is unprotected, right?
But then there's queen d4.
True. Oh, of course. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. So
bishop c5. Now Wesley is not one for these outlandish tactics. Instead, he goes bishop c5. I actually forgot about that move. That's a nice one. It hits the rook. And as a result, he might be able to win the d5 pawn with tempo.
So bishop c5, and now is, again, if knight takes h3 check.
Yeah, takes. Oh, or just takes and take on f8.
Right.
Just get up an exchange. And
not only that, you're also winning on d5. So that's not a really reasonable candidate move. So what else?
I think you got to play rook e8. But then Wesley could either take on e8 first. I mean, probably there's some nuances here to factor in. Okay, for some reason, I guess this is the best version. Takes and then takes d5. Something like this. And again, it's bishop takes h3 here is possible for black. There's tons of tactics. This knight on g5 is always a menace when it comes to kingside play.
Yeah, especially when that light square bishop disappears. That's for sure.
Right. Rook e8, rook takes e8 played. So are we going to see c takes d5? Will Wesley throw in some intermezzo? He does. He goes h4, which is also the best move. Wesley effortlessly sifting through the complications, figuring out how to play. And knight e4, I think he wants cd. And he's just much better in the resulting position. Wow.
And again, it's that monstrous bishop on g2 and the better pawn structure.
Yeah, this is
Those
super
two things
impressive.
combined. Now, where would you put your knight on b1? Would you try to
That's a
stick
good
it on
question.
g2 to go to c4 or just go to c3?
I mean, I would be inclined to go knight c3, but I understand the reservation about that, which would be that the knight is restricted by the pawn on c6. On the other hand, I think it's more important right now to open up the rook and to not obstruct the queen's access to d6. Now, queen d6 even here is very much a possibility because a check on e1 is not so dangerous. White will be threatening back rank bait. So something to chew on for Wesley, who, oh, bishop takes c6. I forgot about that completely. Oh my goodness.
Right. Queen takes c6, queen d8 mating.
Wait, why is this not like totally winning? What is is it bishop d7? Oh, bishop g4 maybe. Bishop g4. It's got to be bishop g4. Only move.
So bishop d4 now, queen g4, queen c6, and white just stats a pawn.
At least it's not an exchange though, and Kovalenko plays it, but it's a healthy extra pawn. Wesley decides on the other way. He trades queens, and now I think he's going to drop his bishop back to c6 and then play knight c3. Because if he goes knight c3 here, he allows the bishop to park itself on f3, which is always a nasty square in these types of positions. It keeps the king pretty boxed in. There it is. Now we're going to see knight c3, I'm pretty sure. And Wesley, my guess would be, will grind this endgame out to a win.
Yeah, very well played so far by Wesley So. Looking very pretty in terms of getting into that top 8.
Absolutely. Shall we have a look quickly at the Dubov Fedoseev game?
Yeah, let's see. Oh, here we have.
Draw.
Oh, it's already a draw or will be a draw soon.
I think it will be a draw shortly.
All right. Well, who's on that bubble? Well, we mentioned Fabi. He's already drawn long ago in this round, right?
Yeah, so we have Bluebaum also. Matthias Bluebaum, we haven't looked at on 4 out of 6. He's still playing. And let's check out his position because we always see some of these players, they sneak in at the last second and you don't notice how they creep up. Oh, by the way, Andreikin on 5 out of 7 all of a sudden. Andreikin at 5 out of 7 somehow. Wow. And Bluebaum playing Grandelius in this position. Grandelius offering a draw. No, I don't think Bluebaum can decline it. I mean, this is just a dead draw, and he accepts it. Still possibly will qualify on 4.5 out of 7 is Bluebaum. And Matlakov, Serena also, both players with good chances here with a win. No clue what's happening in this position.
Yeah, this one looks fun. You showed me a lot of draws today, but definitely not a draw here. Something
Doesn't
crazy
look like
happening. Rook a3 played. Okay. Oh, queen takes c3 now. The rook on a3 has to decide what to do. Probably trade.
Yeah, it seems to me that Matlakov is just putting tremendous pressure on black. Trade on b3 and then b5 falls.
Right.
White's got that bishop here.
Get our pawn back, but with a tremendous position. 2 bishops.
I think bishop d4 here is potentially an important resource, which he plays. Just keeping everything protected and preserving the bishop. Now queen takes b5, of course, is going to be the next move. Okay, knight a5. At least black manages to get rid of this bishop, which is a pretty big accomplishment. Okay. Good defense so far by Alexei, but he's so cramped.
Yeah. Yeah. What would you be looking to play here for white to try to increase your advantage?
Good question. Knight c5. Yep, he plays it. I was going to say could be considered very tricky move because if you trade, then you're going to lose the exchange. So you have to kind of keep the tension maybe with rook d8, but that creates its own problems. Jeez.
Yeah, rook
Queen
d8.
c7. No.
Rook d8 was played. Okay.
Knight e4 going around to d6. Jeez.
Yeah, that knight is kind of holding everything together, but it's also blocking all your activity, right? So it's holding this key c5 square together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's stopping your rook and your bishop from being active.
Right, exactly.
And this knight d6 move is very dangerous because it will just threaten knight takes c8 finally.
He, I think, missed potentially even queen takes c8, and I think he could have picked up that knight in the end and had a ton of pieces for the queen, but that might have been a chance. Now he's still much better.
So you're saying like instead of knight d6, just
yeah,
queen takes
here.
c8?
I think that was nope. I'm sorry, that was not the move. I thought briefly it might have been. I guess there was something else in this position. Maybe bishop. Oh, bishop b6, perhaps. Yeah, it was bishop b6, and the rook can't leave the bishop, and you end up losing your exchange somehow. Anyways, that was possible, but he's still better.
Right. And it wouldn't have, in between moves wouldn't have been possible. Okay, but this looks completely dominating for white. Can't move anything here.
Nope.
The rook can't move because it's tied to the bishop on d7. The bishop can't move because it's pinned. Okay, the h5.
That's about the only thing that can move. And now after h4, you're basically, even that's shut down. Maybe he wants knight takes h4. I don't know. Maybe he wants to try to. Okay, Malikov bringing his knight back to e4. Interesting.
Trying to play bishop c5.
It's a crazy
bishop into the attack.
Yeah, and then he wants to go after that. That's also why he played knight e4. It takes away the g5 square from the queen.
Yeah, bishop c5, and then after you play queen e8, we'll bring our knight back to d6. So
right, little interesting technique there. Alexei down to 2.5 minutes. And by the way, Dubov is what is happening here? This is not the dead draw that I thought it was. Not at all. This might still be drawn objectively, but it looks like Dubov has got the chances here.
Yeah, you got to be very careful. Those pawns can be fast.
And you can give up a rook for the e-pawn at the right moment.
That's
G5.
right, yes. Got to get that g-pawn going too. Uh-oh.
No, this is winning. e3, rook f6 check, I guess, and then rook e6. And then king g6. And I think you're just in time. Boom, boom, boom. Yes, king g6, e2, king g7. I think it's just a win. I think Dubov's going to win this game. This will be a huge result, which will mean that Dubov jumps out to 5.
Right, and Fedoseev, who's been doing so well, will be brought back down to earth and will have to watch his back in the final couple rounds.
Absolutely.
He'll probably qualify, but got to watch out.
He'll have to be careful, no question about it. This is over. E2, you go king g7, you let black promote, and then, then you push, or sorry, e2, h7. You let black promote because then you grab that and then you promote yourself. It's over. There's nothing black can do. Okay, Dubov's going to win. And Wesley seems to be unable to convert against Kovalenko. Wow.
Well, we thought that he was going to convert this one. Well, he does have the pawn.
But it's king c7. What defense by Igor this tournament?
Yeah, it's really been amazing to behold, for sure.
This should be a pretty dead draw. I mean, barring a blunder. And now knight back to f3, perhaps? Or this, yeah. No, this is over. This is a draw.
What other games do we still have going on? Are any of the women players still playing right now?
Let's take a look. We do. We have Flawless Fighter. I think that's Shuvalova.
Yeah.
And she's playing Ray Robson, and it's a game, and he's down below a minute. This could be, let's see, what's happening here. Polina with the king on d4. That's both a blessing and a curse, I suppose.
Bishop d5 just played.
Ray had rook d2 check, I think.
He played King H2. Okay. So still a big time edge for Polina.
Rook
What
down to
about Rook
B3.
G4?
I think she's preparing that. That's why she played Rook B3. So that G3 isn't a move.
Yeah, okay. So Rook G4. So really going for the initiative here, but wait, Rape made a move. Okay, he checked King C5.
Now Rook E5. Now, obviously, objectively, this is a draw. Rook D8 walks into 96 check. So Black has to be very careful.
Oh yeah. Very careful.
Great
because White
move.
has a knight.
Great move, Rook G4. I think this is the way to make a draw. Knight D5, Rook H4 check, and then you have total liquidation. If anything, Black could go for the flag, but I think Ray should be able to hold it here.
That's right. He's got 30 seconds left, but now it's just double rooks with pawn, and you see him rapidly speeding up.
In fact,
like we'll have a draw here.
I don't know how experienced Polina is in Bullet. Ray might even himself try to play for a win here. We'll see.
Look how fast. It's so fast. Wow.
He's so fast. It's unreal.
How strong this tournament is that Ray Robson has 2 points at this point in the event. Incredible. It just goes to show you.
It's honestly ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, last week, I played my first RCC. I had an okay tournament. At one point, I think I had 1 out of 4, and I was playing Dominguez. And I'm like, this is. Oh, she blundered! Oh my god! Oh my goodness!
No!
Oh no! King E6.
Oh.
Walking into the skewer.
Show us how it happened. What happened? Oh,
It was this position Ray had given a check on H5, and that's what he does. I mean, I think Polina was maybe getting nervous about her clock. King E4 is a draw. She dropped it back to E6. Oh,
but now Rook takes up 6. King
Tragedy.
takes up 6. Oh, and he still has 20 seconds.
unreal.
Time.
Unreal, and the games are
skewers.
winding down. Whoa. Malikov is still winning, but he's got 12 seconds, and Serrano has these passers, which are not going anywhere. Bishop D1, what a move. Whoa.
Oh, wow.
F4. Wait a second. This is not over. Rook D3, F2. Serrano pushing his pawns, but he's got 4 seconds. Bishop B5. Now he's winning. Oh my God, he's winning. But
Bishop
can he
B5,
get that pawn in time? Can he take? Yes, he can. Now, can he mate him? Oh, he's not going to be able to mate him in time. Ooh, so close.
So
But
close.
no.
Oh, we need one more.
Oh
We
my-
need like a half more second. Oh.
Literally was 2 moves away. Insane. After
Yeah.
such a good game, Matlikov fails to deliver. And that concludes the games from round 7. What a round and what a Saturday Swiss this has been. We're waiting on the top 8. Nothing has been defined yet. 2 crucial rounds to go, so don't go anywhere. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. We'll have round 8 for you on the other side of this short break. Chess.com's coverage of the 2022 Candidates Tournament is coming this June. Watch the top players compete for their chance to face Magnus Carlsen for the World Championship title. Tune in to chess.com/TV to enjoy exclusive footage of the playing hall and expert commentary on every move that is coming your way this summer in June. Do not miss this very exciting Candidates Tournament. We hope you're not missing the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase, because we've got 2 more rounds to go. We've got lots of action, lots of intrigue left, because Jennifer, a couple players seem to be safely on their way to qualification. Kovalenko, all alone atop the tournament with 5.5 out of 7, but the rest aren't totally safe. I mean, even those with 5 out of 7, if they lose twice, they might not qualify.
Oh, definitely, maybe not. And this game looks really exciting as Levon's king under some pressure already. What is it going to do? Queen B3 was the last one we played.
First of all, I have no idea how Andrakin got to 5 out of 7. Like, wasn't seeing him at all. All of a sudden, he gets to 5 out of 7, but that's the nature of this tournament. This is looking terrible for Levon. This is a disaster out of the opening. I mean, Andrakin has these phenomenal pieces in the center. He's got the possibility of taking on G7. He can take on B7. My goodness. Yeah. This is looking really bad for, I mean, what if queen takes B7 here?
Yeah, queen takes B7. What are you going to do? Knight A5, then queen B5. Queen B5 check and knight D6.
Oh my goodness, that wins a piece. That's absolutely correct. Oh my God, this looks like a meltdown by Levon, who walked into some Queen's Gambit accepted prep.
I guess you could, yeah. I don't.
And he takes it. Well, we're about to find out. I don't think Levon has a move in mind.
I don't see a move.
This looks losing for Black. I mean, perhaps he has to go knight E7 and just sort of, I mean, but like even knight D6 and E4 has to be totally overwhelming here. Jeez. Louise.
Yeah, this is untenable. Oh okay. No,
Bishop D7.
And you were just saying that 5 points is not enough to be safe. Could you be talking about Levon himself?
That would be crazy. If Levon loses this one and then the next one with the white pieces, that would be out of this world. But everything's possible. And now Andrakin, I like Bishop D7. I think that's the best practical choice, and the engine agrees. Now Andrakin has to decide whether to take that bishop on D6 or to delay it. Maybe to take on G7 instead. It's still complicated. Anything, I mean, he takes G7. No hesitation.
G7 because now knight F6 is in the air as well. Because that rook on A8 is hanging.
Rook B8 by Levon. Now Andrakin will drop his queen back to A6. With or without. Okay, so he starts by taking. Now he goes queen A6. Gosh, this is not what Levon envisioned. Queen H4. Trying to wrap my...
It's definitely it's still a random position.
Chaos. Complete chaos.
Yeah, it is so chaotic. So it's not going to be easy for white. I mean, white's king is still in the center, right? And your queen is a little bit off. You have no harmony. So even if you could say like, oh, white's totally crushing here, in practice, not that easy.
Oh, totally. And I think a lot of chess fans, it's easy as an inexperienced player to misinterpret positions like these. You look at the eval +4, it's just easy, right? But you got to look at, as you said, the amount of chaos on the board and how unbalanced stuff is. And there's all these weird knight B4, knight G4 moves. That stuff's hard to see for a human. So Andrakin has to tread very carefully here if he wants to convert this seamlessly.
Yeah, I was hoping that for white, like it would be a little easier. Like that's why after knight takes D6, I kind of wish I had my knight on E4 because it felt like that was a little bit more coordinating with things. But hey, I mean, I'm sure Andrakin had his plan here and he's doing fabulously, but I just don't know what move to play here. Like what move do we play? Because if I play Bishop D2, my pawn on B2 is hanging.
Yeah, D5. Okay. So he's D5, going after Levon's pawns. He's going after the material, which makes sense. So knight, for instance, knight B4, queen takes D6. And now if you just sort of blindly go for the fork, the issue is that the B8 rook is also hanging and everything topples over once white takes it.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So D5, is there anything besides knight B4 then?
There is knight E5 also. There's knight E5. There's There's even rook b6 here. He goes knight b4, and then he goes rook b6. So a combination of the
wild.
two moves.
Very wild. Okay, whoa, this
Check.
is insane. Queen e5 check.
White is up 3 pawns. That's not something you see every day.
Now we can also try e4 because bishop g5 check will be introduced.
Love it. That's a great move, I think. I think e4 is a fantastic move. And if black goes f6 to try to preempt it, then this is going to be mate. Oh,
That's what we want.
no. What does black even have against d4? I'm struggling to figure out why this isn't totally winning.
Well, it's not that surprising that there would be a total win here, right? Considering, do you have something with knight g4? No.
I'm not sure.
Maybe knight g4. And then, yeah.
I think there's a high probability Dimitri plays e4. I just don't see a move for black there. Probably Levon does. That's why they pay him the big bucks. One other cool line, e4, rook f6 is a try. Now, you don't want to go here because of queen takes f2. Pinned pieces protect. Even though the rook is pinned, it still protects the queen against the king's capture. But white can change the move order. You take here first, then you play bishop g5, and there's no longer... At a minimum, there's probably better moves, but at a minimum, this leads to a winning endgame.
Because after queen g5, rook g5,
You're going to win that knight on a1.
Yeah. Yeah, the knight will be trapped in the end, which happens so frequently with those knights that go after
the rooks in the corner. Meanwhile, Kovalenko has drawn, which is a totally reasonable result against Wesley. Oh, wait. No, against Dubov, I think. Kovalenko, Dubov drew. So Dubov is happy with that. He's got 5.5 out of 8. That's pretty firmly in qualification territory. Caruana with another draw. He's on 5 out of 8. He's going to have a good last round.
No, do you think 5.5 is definitely going to make it?
Well, we can make a simple calculation. So let's say that. So first of all, let's figure out who Fedoseev is playing. Fedoseev is playing Matlakov, who's got 4.5. I don't think 5. I mean, I think certain people with 5.5 are going to make it, and that's pretty common, right? Where the tiebreaker will decide who makes it if you have the same number of points. 5.5 is probably going to be the cutoff.
But people like Fedoseev, if they were to get 5.5, would be at the top of the tiebreak pile because they were doing so well in the beginning. White here, it looks like almost he's playing against his own opening. This looks like a dragon.
White's down a pawn. I mean, 2 pawns currently, but 1 pawn after queen takes c5. He's worse. Fedoseev is worse, much worse. I mean,
yeah, so it could become real.
This could become real. He just lost a game. Now maybe he wants knight a4. That might be, but now everything. Goes knight d5. That's not a move you play if you're satisfied with your position.
Oh, knight d5. Yeah, trading, and he's going to get at least 1 pawn, but will he get 2? Then he needs to restore the material balance.
He doesn't appear that way. And then Matlakov has many ways that he can transform his advantage. If he wants, he can play c4 and get it to an endgame. If he wants, he can go for an attack. He can go like e6, for example. So lots of options here for black, and he's better in all of them.
And Fedoseev struggling. Can we see the Levon game again? Because it's crazy. I want to see whether. Oh, what happened?
Levon's have an exchange for 800 pawns.
800 pawns. Wow. It's a lot.
Three to be exact, but it looks like more almost.
It's too many to count. That's the point.
Okay, so if white goes e4, game is over. I think like once white builds up this like huge pawn chain in the center, he's going to roll black off the board, and Levon stops it, of course. Okay. Now e4 is possible once again, but probably inadvisable as of yet. Okay, 6.
All right. Well, nice job to Levon keeping himself in the game. Rook.
Absolutely.
C8.
I think
Engine
e4
really hates
is
this
good
though.
now.
E4, okay, because
Well, there's
there's
bishop
rook
g5.
e6. Yeah.
No, this is crushing, and then bishop h3,
Ooh,
etc.
yes. Opening that other diagonal for the bishop. Beautiful. Slicing. Rook takes d6.
Or simply takes and takes and e5 and just run these pawns off the board. Probably not accurate, but he goes e4 and he's going to win.
E4, such a key move, getting our bishops into the game. So very thematic. We've been trying to
Extremely.
do that all game. Once that dark square bishop gets to play, well, there's no more play for you.
Nope. It's, I mean, crushing. Knight back to f7 goes Levon. I mean, e5 is possible even here because you can't take on e5. There's always going to be these forks, checks,
Rook
somethings.
e6. Yeah.
Draken plays bishop h3. Also good. Again, e5 is good. I mean, he's spoiled for choice. EF and f6. Getting a fourth pawn. Nothing wrong with that either. Just develops. Very calm. Very calm.
And that rook e6 idea, very real now, whether it wins a piece or not.
Yeah, it's these positions are never. You don't even have any chances. There's black is so passive here. King back to d8 goes Levon. He's making moves, but he's got no practical chances here. Rook c6 is a great move. If rook b4, then there's a check and then another check with a fork. And if you trade, then white opens up the d5 square for his knight. It's over. He might resign here.
Wow. Tough sequence of events for the people who were leading in the beginning, the early leaders,
Yeah.
Levon Aronian and Fedoseev, both being brought back down to earth and having to fight for their spot, despite being in the lead at the midpoint.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly this happened. And this is how fast things turn around in the RCC. Like you have just like one round and you think, okay, Levon's running away with it. And then he loses one game and all of a sudden he might not qualify. It's the delta between first and eighth is so small that one loss can do you in.
Yeah, and it's very tough for people who are on the outside, the outskirts, because it's harder for them. They want somebody to run away with it, you know?
Right.
That way they have a chance of getting in with a lower score.
Yeah, and let's check back into Fedoseev's game as he tries to hustle his defensive forces. He's actually doing a great job. Something happened to Malakov's position. Malakov was better, but he allowed, okay, so he blundered knight c7. This was a huge mistake. He shouldn't have allowed this. Now this is falling and the bishop is hanging, and this was just an oversight by Maxime, and it allows Vladimir to get into an endgame where I think only white can win at this point.
Yeah, a lot of weaknesses, right? The g6 pawn, the a6 pawn, and rook d6. Dangerous to try to go into that. So king f7 was played.
I mean, it's still double-edged because if you play rook takes a6, black could play rook d4 and then go after the h-pawn, and it's not about the quantity of passed pawns, as Robert Hess likes to say, but about the quality. The h-pawn is pretty high quality. So
Yeah,
who
especially
knows?
because your king is so far away from the action.
And they're playing a blitz game at this point, so it's 3 results are possible, very much so.
So what else besides rook a6? What if we don't want to do that? What about rook e4? Then it's just going to be
He
a draw.
plays it. Well, it's, you know, these end games. Okay, e5 on Malakov. This is great. Very alert move. Rook takes e5. Then he wants rook d4, using the weakness of h4 to his advantage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know what's funny
Now
is
you're ready to play king e6 and king f5.
exactly.
If we don't take on e5, so that would be nasty. So you got to go for this.
And you might have to go rook a5 and go after the a pawn, but then white could lose that easily. Like you could let that pawn through by accident.
All results.
It's funny, Ray Robson, he's having himself a really rough tournament. And guess who he gets paired with? He's like on 50%, Alexander Grishuk. Imagine that. That's what we were talking about.
And how's that game going? You want to take a look?
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, Grishuk
Not-
Robson.
Not well for Ray. He's got 8
Oh,
seconds
this
and
is
he's
fun
dead.
though. Okay, fun for Sasha
Right.
because he has an extra 3.5 minutes. And what's going on in the position?
Well, it's
see.
over. I mean, he's up a piece and his king is
Yeah.
safe.
And Bishop
Ray's
D4
gonna-
just played.
Bishop takes f5. Ray's going to lose this. Bishop takes c3 is the simplest.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
And the
we'll
king
trust.
is already king is safe and we're up a piece and 800 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, it's over. And
Give
we
or
come
take.
back to the Fedoseev game where both sides are pushing their pawns respectively. This is a case of who's first. I mean, they might promote simultaneously. There might be a draw. The eval bar is showing zeros. Maybe some sort of mutual elimination of passers that sometimes happens.
Such great players, Danya, but in a bullet game, which this is now, can they actually calculate, or are they just like kind of going on instinct? Like, how do you play this type
It's
of endgame?
Completely going on instinct. Like you calculate the very basics, like H2 here is begging to be played. I don't see an alternative, and neither does Malikov. Rook A1 stopping the pawn. Okay, you might go for your instinct, which is Rook H5, but then Rook H1. That might be counterproductive. Who knows?
Right. You might prefer just to play for G5 and play Rook E8 yourself.
And now a choice for White. Like, does he go C5 or does he spend a tempo on Rook H1 and try to eliminate this pawn? I would probably go Rook H1. It's probably safer. But let's see what Vladimir chooses.
So Rook H1 and then Rook H8, C5.
Or B7.
Oh, just B7 with the idea of Rook takes H2.
The problem is that Black recaptures on H2 with check. I also didn't
Right.
notice that initially.
So we have to move our king. Yeah.
Okay, so Rook H1, he's going to play Rook
Still takes
H8.
you 3 moves. Still takes you 3 moves to get to G3. So we still have time for all that, right?
Yep.
Oh.
He's going for D5. What an idea.
Ooh.
And this pawn on G6 is preventing Rook H5 check. It's a draw.
Ah, nice. Nice idea. Oh
Whoa,
my God.
is it a draw?
Because he plays King C3 instead. And
Oh my God.
now what do we
Wait,
do? Can we play Rook H8 still?
I think he should have gone Rook H8 on the previous move. I think that was the mistake. He wasted a tempo, and now Fedoseev is going to get his king up to B5. And that's crucial because the king is unable to enter C6. I think White's pawns are faster there. It's tempo for tempo, but I think Fedoseev's going to win. King B5. Oh my God.
Rook H8 played.
Rook D1 check. No, he goes back to B4. Oh, but now he allows King C6. Now White might lose. Oh my God, he
boy.
just panicked. Rook H4. Oh, now Fedoseev has to grovel for a draw. Might he try to flag him? Knowing Vladimir, he's very fast. As Matlakov offers a draw, and Fedoseev declines it. And Matlakov offers another draw and another draw. And this time Fedoseev takes it.
Ah, and there it is. Another Rook end game that taught us so much. We could have spent 20 minutes on that game.
That was crazy. And we have Sarah, who is trying to flag Bogdan Diach here in a lost position. Can she do it? 10 seconds for Bogdan. 7 now. She might be able to squeeze out a draw. Yeah, she's definitely should be able to squeeze it, but she needs to start pre-moving. She's just not fast enough. This is losing, but it should be flaggable, but no, she's not going to make it.
No, and there it is. She gets less time and she will lose for sure in that case. Ah,
Yeah, unfortunate for Sarah, who has been in these games completely
Fighting.
and just not able to pull it out in the end. But that concludes round 8. We have one more round to go. Don't you dare go anywhere. This is the all-important round that is going to decide which 8 players advance to Knockout Sunday. So don't go anywhere. Final round coming up. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. We'll be back with the last round in just a couple of moments. Welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship. And this is round 9 out of 9. We're watching Saturday's Swiss tournament to determine which 8 players make their way to Knockout Sunday. And Jennifer Igor Kovalenko, Dmitry Andreikin, 6.5 out of 9. We can slot them in. They've made it, regardless of their result. Oh, they've already drawn. So that's it. They are in first and second, respectively. 5.5 is probably going to make it, but not everybody with 5.5 is going to qualify.
Right. And right here, we've got 2 players with 5 points, but they'll probably make it if they get 5.5, right?
So currently in 8th place is none other than Levon. He's clinging to 8th place with 5 out of 8. So I have actually no idea how many people will qualify with 5.5, but I think Fabi's playing for a win. Given what he's played in the opening here, very sharp line of the Catalan, where he clings to the extra pawn. He doesn't want to leave this up to chance and tiebreak.
Nope. And what about Levon?
Levon probably has good tiebreaks, I would imagine. Yeah, he's got the best tiebreaks with 5 out of 8. So I think for Levon, it's safe to make a draw. But let's see who he's got. He's got Saric. So he's definitely going to play for a win. I think he believes in his ability to win this game.
An interesting position. Okay, so B2 is hanging. So with queen, what's happening here? Queen C2.
That's pretty typical, although that does allow bishop takes F3. Maybe not such a big issue to weaken the king side in this position.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because what else? Well, what else would you consider here?
You could, I guess you could play knight out to C3 and allow the queen trade.
True.
That's another option.
Yep. And then you're still going to be playing against those doubled pawns, those ugly doubled pawns.
Right. Okay, so he trades and then goes knight C3. Interesting. Okay, yeah, and these pawns are causing Black tremendous difficulty.
It looks terrible for Black. Yeah,
it does.
At first I was like thinking Black was up a pawn for this or something, Danya. I'm like, no, the pawns are equal.
I thought so too, but no, yeah. And Black's going to end up being down a pawn. This is actually just a really bad opening for Saric and a great one for Levon.
Can we take on F3 and play Bishop D4? Oh, he just did Bishop D4 right
immediately.
Away.
But Knight A4 is always an idea in such positions, just sort of like going around the bishop. You could also start by playing Rook E1 if you don't want to ruin your own structure. Although I would go Knight A4 here. I would go Knight A4 straight away.
Wow. Well, it looks like a very promising position for Levon. And meanwhile, Fabi's position looked very complex. So maybe we should go back to that one.
And we've already had a bunch of results. So we have Dubov and Bluebaum drawing. They have 6 out of 9. Wesley and Alexei Sorona drawing. They also have 6 out of 9. So 6 spots are already slotted out. And if Fedoseev wins his game, then he gets 6.5. That's 7 spots. No, 5.5 is not going to qualify. You need 6 because my guess is that at least 2 people with 5 out of 8 are going to win. 5.5 is not going to qualify. Fabi must win and Levon must win. And even 6 might not qualify. That's crazy, but true.
But it probably will for Levon, as we mentioned earlier, because he's got those top tie breaks for 5 points right now.
Right. But who is Fedoseev playing? Fedoseev is playing Grandelius. They're in a Najdorf. It's a very sharp position. Fedoseev can't afford to lose. Probably can't afford to draw with his tie breaks. Interesting.
And what do you say about the position here? Even looks okay for Black. I mean, these Sicilian endgames, unless you have a Rook C3, that causes me a lot of problems immediately.
Yeah, I guess first you should probably play H3, but then Black has H5. I mean, no, I think Black is totally fine.
It's coming with check, of course. Yeah, Bishop takes check, right? So we don't have time for Rook C3. So you're saying H3 and then there's just H5.
H3, H5, I keep harassing G4. If you play G5, you walk into H4. There's always these problems on the king side. I never like these setups for white just because this pawn is always sticking out like a sore thumb. It's hard to coordinate when you've got a weakness like this. Maybe knight C5 can be considered. I don't know.
Yeah. Knight c5 here instead of h3 for sure. Another option. It looks like Fedoseev's sinking into a deep think, so believes this is a critical moment of the game.
Shall we take this opportunity to switch quickly back to Fabi?
Yeah,
Fabi looks like he's in trouble.
Fired. Who seems in trouble?
Fabi,
Fabi?
I feel like he's just this Catalan experiment that he's played with a black has backfired. He's still up a pawn technically, but look at his pieces. Ugh.
They do look horrible. But what is white gonna do about it? Rook a1 to a7? Like, how do we
Yeah,
actually
knight
make
c5.
something?
Bishop takes b4, by the way, not is the immediate idea, I think, just to
True.
restore material equality. And if Fabi goes queen b6, then you can always slice off the bishop with knight c5. Knight fd7, trying to diffuse the tension as much as possible, get rid of the knight on e5, makes sense.
But you are right.
Yes.
It looks absolutely terrible. So now at least we can't play bishop b4 because knight e5 and the rook on d1 is hanging. Okay, so takes.
And takes.
And now we've taken the pawn on b4. So white has recaptured their pawn and has a better position. But how much better?
Well, I don't see Fabi winning this game. The thing is, a draw benefits neither. They both don't qualify with a draw. So, you know, one of them, they're going to try to win at all costs. Like even Fabi's going to try his best here to create some crazy chances. Queen e1, maybe?
I like it.
Keeping the bishop protected is very important.
The harmony in Black's camp is so poor.
Yeah, and the bishop staring at its own terrible pawn. I mean, there's nothing about Fabi's position that's good here. Literally nothing.
I'm dying to play c5 here, but I can't.
Yeah.
Because you prepared perfectly for it with your last move, queen e1.
Knight b2. Fabi's going for tricks at this point. Rook c1, knight d3 he wants, but Matlakov's obviously not allowing that. He takes e7. He's going to probably go either rook b1 or rook a1, anything to avoid a fork. Rook a1 I like a lot, and queen c3 becomes a threat.
Right, restricting that knight. So you're going to have to kind of like leap out yourself first with knight c4.
Yeah, and then the avalanche comes, you know, there, and ugh. White is just like enjoying life.
And that's for sure. This is a position where you do enjoy.
Very much
Don't
so.
have to think that hard. Stick your knight on c5 and the bishop on a8 cries even louder. But they played rook b1, not rook a1.
Yep.
Not that that looks bad.
Not at all. I mean, he puts the rook on the open b file, and it's going to be a similar turn of events. I mean, he can still go queen c3 and knight either a or c5. The only real question to me is whether Matlakov can convert this into the full point. Goes e5. Yeah, I think he's playing against the bishop. Maybe knight b6, knight d5. I don't know.
I like that
I don't know
idea.
what to do.
At least keep one of your pieces good. The bishop will always be bad. And then how do you play for white then? Try to create a second weakness.
Well, you could just do the whole queenside encroachment approach, like knight c5, queen a5, and then hope that something materializes on the queen side, or slowly bishop f1, bishop d3, you know, those kinds of maneuvers. But it doesn't fully inspire confidence. I agree. Fabi goes rook b8, very concrete move. Still knight c5 by Maxime. The trade of rooks doesn't relieve Black's burden at all, or very little. Queen a7, though, stopping queen b8. Fabi holding on.
Yeah, good defense so far.
Hard guy to bring down.
Very unenviable position. No fun at all. But hey, sometimes you got to play positions that aren't very much fun.
That's absolutely true. Okay,
even though you need to
b4.
win. So that's pretty dispiriting. But, you know, they don't know for sure what's happening, right? Like there were a lot of draws in this. So, you know, you can't really follow it. He just has to get the best result he has and see what happens.
Yeah. And I mean, Levon drew. Levon failed to win that. Levon drew. And somehow Saric down a pawn, he managed to create counterplay. You can see he got his knight to f4, his rook to the second rank, and he forced Levon into a perpetual. So that's been Levon's problem this tournament. He's just been a little bit sloppy at times. He was playing really quickly in this last round as well. So he's going to be kicking himself if he doesn't qualify.
Very fast. It's tough because that's always a balance. You know, you want to play fast and put pressure on your opponents, but then of course you're not going to be as accurate, but potentially didn't get that balance perfect in this particular tournament, Levon. So he played super fast, but you know, also his opponent had really good defensive days. You know, like a lot of those times he would have won in many universes, but not this one.
There is a universe under which 5.5 qualifies. If everybody with 5 out of 8 makes a draw, then somebody with 5.5 one person will qualify with the best tie breaks. I was just assuming that there will be a decisive game. And one game we haven't even looked at is Raunak Sadwani's game against Grishuk. Sadwani is half a point above Grishuk. He has to win with black. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Grishuk looks like he has a risk-free position.
Yeah, so that seems unlikely. And I do think that if a 5.5 gets through, it looks like it's going to be Levon because he had the highest tie breaks at the beginning of the round. It would probably stay the same.
Yes. So it really comes down to Matlikov, who, and Grandelius is yet another 5 out of 8. He's playing Fedoseev. He doesn't seem to have any winning chances. It's all down to Matlikov. If Matlikov wins, I think he gets that 8th spot. But can he? Now they've got the queens off the board. This is looking a little bit more defensible for Fabi. Let's see.
How do we get our king in? So if we were to get our king all the way to A5, would that help?
It probably would. The other plan is to push your king side pawns or both, you know, G4, G5, try to create a passer, induce a weakness, and bleed black's clock. He's up 30 seconds on the clock as well.
Yeah.
Is Matlikov.
4 minutes to 3:30 isn't that much, but 1 minute to 30 seconds is.
Levon is praying for Fabi to save this position.
Right, because if Fabi saves, then it's going to be a ton of people with 5.5, and Levon will have the best tie breaks, most likely. Whereas if anybody wins this game, he's out.
Right, assuming that Fedoseev doesn't lose. So if let's say Fedoseev draws, he's got 6, he's number 7. So then that leaves one more spot. And the question is that going to be filled by someone who has 6 out of 8? Such as Matlikov or the top guy with 5.5, which will be Levon for sure. And here he goes. Jennifer, you called it. He's trying to get his king to the other side, but Fabi's saying, no, not so fast. He's anchoring himself to the D4 pawn.
That's true, but that E6 pawn's also weak now.
Yeah.
How do we make advantage of that?
This has got to be winning somehow. But how? Bishop G4, there he goes. Tying down the knight. He's trying to get Fabi to go F5.
Exactly.
And then he drops the bishop back and we'll go G4 and start breaking down the defenses. Okay. Knight.
And then he's going to go again, headed towards B6.
Oh, and now you can't go knight B5 because, as you indicated, he's anchored himself to this pawn. So Fabi's knight is tied down. This is looking worse and worse. He gives a check. No, but this is winning. F5 maybe.
He's got to try it.
King A6. He's just going to go up to A7, win the bishop. Bishop on A8. Its days are numbered.
And how poetic is that?
Extremely poetic.
And then you're going to play knight C7, and we're just going to play king B8. Oh, and then king D8 and knight takes C6 or something. Oh, it's a very pretty way.
Bishop F1, very prophylactic move. He's shutting down all counterplay, stopping knight E2, not allowing Fabi to give up his piece for a bunch of pawns. Wow.
What a nice positional game. King A7 is coming.
Incredibly clutch. Incredibly clutch. It looks like Matlikov is going to win. Knight E4. You could even take it and go King A7. Oh, but that's then true.
And then
no, that's winning.
I would give anything just to play C5 and rescue my bishop, but we don't even have time for that.
He will, if in the event of takes King A7, he will play C5. I was calculating that, but it's winning for white. In the end, white plays bishop G2, and although black has 2 connected passers, they're easily restrained by the bishop. So My guess is Matlakov is calculating this, and he will play knight e4, king a7 if I had to guess.
But wait. So if you play king, what about just playing king a7 right away? What are you worried about? Knight g3?
There was knight takes g3. Now after king a7, c5 will happen. He'll take on a8, and then Matlakov will go bishop g2. He'll force Fabi's e-pawn forward and then drop the bishop back to f1. Classic idea to blockade the pawns along the light squares.
That's right. And then we can bring our king back at our leisure.
Or this. It doesn't actually matter. Yeah.
Why doesn't it matter? Because if d3, you can't play e3. And if you play d3, then we play bishop e2.
Precisely. So and if e3, then you have the blockade already.
If only that bishop was a knight, Black would have some ideas.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Then e3 would win.
I know. What a difference. I mean, that's why the bishops are so strong in an endgame.
Even g4 shuts everything down here if he wants to be super clinical.
And there it is. Fabi looks very dejected.
He never had a chance. He had a bad position out of the gates. Right up Matlakov's alley, the Catalan torture, and Fabi resigns. And Maxim Matlakov, an Iranian, has to be very unhappy with Fabi right now. There's one more critical game remaining, and that's Fedoseyev's game. And it's heating up.
Oh, Fedoseyev.
Whoa.
He's been on top for so much of this event.
Now, wait a second. Fedoseyev doesn't want to get checkmated here because all he needs is a draw, but he was not risking. Now, all of a sudden, Black's got this attack. Holy smokes.
And if Black were to win, then he would be in that group of 6 out of 9.
Then Grindelius would qualify instead of Fedoseyev.
Exactly.
I don't think it's winning. Okay, so bishop e4 defending the c2 square. Now Niels has a perpetual, and I don't think he's got anything other than a perpetual. Fedoseyev is going to breathe a big sigh of relief here.
Well, that's right.
There's no mate. And Niels, he won't quite make it to the top here. Valiant effort.
I mean, you could say valiant effort about almost every game that we saw in this tournament. It has been fantastic fights.
It really has been, and that's been reflected in the uncertainty up until the very, very end of the qualifying spots. Just tells you how closely packed together everybody is. Niels taking his time here, but he doesn't have any other pieces with which to attack. It's a draw. And he acquiesces. And Vladimir Fedoseyev takes the last spot. We've got our top 8. And there's a couple of games remaining. We're just going to watch the finish of Grishuk Sadwani. And even if Sadwani wins, he'll have 6, but his tie breaks are really bad. And he might win. He's going to flag Grishuk.
Oh, yeah. 27 seconds left for Grishuk here.
Now, wait a second. Matlakov has 18 tiebreak points. Sadwani had 16.25 before this round. Oh my goodness. Is Raunaq going to surpass Matlakov through some miracle?
Why?
We're going to have to wait and see. Well, maybe
we're going to have to wait.
I don't know how those tiebreaks work exactly. We're going to have to wait to see the new tiebreaks reflected, but he's going to defeat Grishuk here. I have no doubt he's going to flag him. Jeez. Couldn't script this any better.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait for the match.
It's over. Grishuk's position is collapsing, and he's getting flagged.
Yeah, because that knight is just so powerful with the bishop all protecting its own colored pawns.
Okay.
So it could not hold on to all of them. That's the problem. And there it is. Black wins by resignation, actually. Grishuk gave it up. And pretty soon we're gonna see in it. I think it is.
It's Matlakov.
Yeah, as we predicted.
Yeah, not quite enough. But a great effort by Raunaq, 6 out of 9. He can hold his head up high, surpassing Levon. This is the last game of the round, as Ray with a tough tournament, as had David Paravian. He previously had qualified to the Sunday, but not this time. Not this time. Let's see who gets the better of this time scramble.
Yeah, exactly. Similar times on the clock. 3 pawns here, 2 pawns rather, but one very advanced pawn. But look at that. Black is, ooh. Well, no increment. So will anybody be able to flag?
Ray is so fast, though. He knows exactly which checks to give, when to move his king. He should.
You're thinking draw.
That's so hard to say. I mean, he still has his rook. If Ray can keep his rook, okay, it's a draw. It's a draw.
There it is. Beautiful.
That concludes the Saturday Swiss. We've got our top 8. Kovalenko, Andreikin, Fedoseev, Dubov, So, Bluebaum, Alexei Sarana, and Maxim Motlakov form the top 8 that will advance to tomorrow's knockout. Now, we will take a short break. Don't go anywhere because we're going to recap all of the proceedings. We're going to have a rapid recap when we come back. Thank you, everybody, watching the tournament. You're watching the Rapid Chess Championship Week 6. We'll be back with a recap in just a couple of moments. Welcome back to the Rapid Chess Championship presented by Coinbase. Well, the Saturday Swiss is in the books. We've got our top 8. We see them here. Kovalenko and Andreikin atop the standings. And Jennifer, a lot of intrigue as we were wondering who was going to make it. And Aronian, he was leading the tournament the entire time. He doesn't make it.
Yeah, it's a really tough day for Levon, but gosh, he gave us some really entertaining battles.
He absolutely did. And Coinbase also gave us some entertaining battles, our main sponsor. And Coinbase wants you to stop blundering your pieces. So, well, that's not going to happen in my case. So they've decided to give away some diamond memberships for you to improve your chess. However, they sure are impressed by your prediction skills and would really like to know who you think will win tomorrow's RCC knockout. Tomorrow's Sunday knockout. So spam your favorites, spam the player who you think is going to win tomorrow's knockout in the chat now and be eligible to win diamond memberships courtesy of the sponsor, Coinbase. Thank you very much to Coinbase for sponsoring this amazing, amazing event. Okay, well, now it's time for the Coinbase Rapid Recap. And there were so many games, Jennifer, from which we could choose. And ultimately, we decided on a game that encapsulates so many of the qualities that we think an RCC, a good RCC game, encapsulates intrigue, ups and downs, and great players. This is the battle between Wesley So with the white pieces and Vladimir Fedoseev with the black pieces. And Jennifer, Fedoseev mincing no words, making his intentions clear with his opening choice.
That's right. Well, we got into a mainstream dragon. I think we entered a little bit later than this, but you'll see that this is the most aggressive testing line of the dragon, the Yugoslav attack. With Queen D2, Wesley seems poised to castle queenside and throw everything at Fedoseev's king. But then a wrinkle. After B5, Wesley decides, no, I don't want to castle queenside anymore because after A5, you're really coming at me and it's not clear what to do. So he switches it up. That's the thing. Before you castle, you can still change your mind.
He goes A4 and he basically says, I'm going to attack on the queen side. And no, I'm going to castle on the king side. That's exactly what happens. A4 is a really nice move. And after the trade, Fedoseev has this weak pawn on A7. Wesley castling king side. Can't take the pawn on B2 because you get the queen trapped. And we thought after queen B7, there's a trade of bishops. Then the other bishops get traded. We thought that Wesley was solidly better. He declined to draw, but then something crazy happens. Fedoseev goes rook Fc8, and Wesley makes this one sloppy move, rook A5. And Jennifer, Fedoseev immediately comes up with an amazing equalizing tactic.
That's right. Beautiful move. I mean, he's ready for these things. This is why he plays the dragon. You know, there's one thing that's wrong with White's position, and that's that king on G1 is just ever so slightly exposed.
Exactly. And that's the reason for the tactic. Rook takes C4 and queen B6, forking the rook and the king, winning back the rook and winning it back on his own terms. He goes rook C8 saying, I'm only going to take it on my terms. And Wesley kind of acquiescing to the queen trade. They get into this rook endgame. And we kind of left the game here, Jennifer, thinking, okay, it's probably going to be a draw. This is very balanced. But Fedoseev starts outplaying him.
Well, that's the thing about the dragon. If you do survive past the middle game and make it into an end game, the pawn structure is really well suited for an end game. You have no weaknesses and you have a lot of nooks and crannies to put your king in.
That's a great point. And Wesley, at some point, he panics. He goes rook D5. Fedoseev responds with E5, creating this pawn square. Wesley quickly trades rooks. And as a result, they get a situation where Fedoseev has the ability to create a protected passer with the move E4. So we thought that this still is probably a draw with accurate play, but in time pressure, it's so hard to defend this well. Fedoseev driving the pawn in to E4 and then outmaneuvering White, king B5, now H5 to prevent White from creating a passer of his own. And Jennifer, we thought maybe Fedoseev had better ways to convert, but he did such a good job of putting pressure on Wesley this game.
Yeah, and there were some really beautiful ideas. Like you mentioned, this idea of H4 at some point and just marching over and eating all of the pawns. I thought that was pretty magnificent. Not right
in
here,
this position.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this was an option for Black. And if G4, Black promotes, right? And if takes, then the king just walks over, takes everything, and White can never leave the E-pawn. That's the main problem with Wesley's position.
That is the power of a protected pass pawn, that you can play these moves that don't seem right, but you have all the time in the world. Not something you usually have in a pawn endgame.
That's exactly right. And instead, Fedoseev taking the traditional approach and just outflanking, out-shouldering White's king all the way to the third rank. And here Wesley resigns because after king d1, e2, king e1, king e3, no, it's not stalemate. To the contrary, White has to push his pawn, give it away, and Black will promote with checkmate. A great, smooth game of victory with the Black pieces by Vladimir Fedoseev over Wesley So. Fedoseev qualifies to the top 8, and we will watch him carefully as he tries to make his presence felt in the Sunday knockout. And this was your Coinbase rapid recap for week 6.
What a game. Love
A
it.
great game indeed. And we have our bracket set for tomorrow, Jennifer. We have some mouth-watering matchups. We see Kovalenko Matlaka. We have Dubov So. What catches your eye of these matchups?
Oh, well, we were just looking at the game with So I can't help but look at Dubov So because I think the styles so opposed, but such great players.
Yeah.
Going to make it to that next round.
I'm so excited to watch the matchups tomorrow. And speaking of things that catch my eye, Jennifer, your new book catches my eye. Chess Queens, brand new book by you. An excellent work. I've been engrossed. And just one more time, wanted to announce it for everybody. Jennifer's new book available everywhere in ebook and audiobook, and it will be available in hardcover pretty soon. Jennifer, this is a monumental effort. Can you give us one more very quick summary of what this book is all about, what inspired you to write it, and what you hope people take out of it?
Well, you know, chess has become so popular in the last couple of years, but we still need more women in the game. We need more queens. And this is a celebration of the women from all over the world, not just the best players, but also some of the most fun players, some of the most who make contributions outside just the game. This celebrates them. It's got the Polgar sisters, the chess queen herself, Alexander Kastenyuk, Vera Menchik, the first woman ever to play against the top men of her day. It's got Fiona Mutesi, the queen of Katwe, who changed her life and that of her whole extended family through chess. It also has my own story about all the ups and downs I've experienced in my life through chess. So I hope you'll check it out. And most importantly, I hope that you'll teach some of the queens in your life how to play the game so we can get closer to 50-50.
Fantastic. Well, I'm sure we'll all be, well, again, I keep trying to keep this a secret, but you know, some of us already have the hardcover book, but we'll talk about that later. So please make sure to get Jennifer's book. Jennifer, congratulations once again. And so the Saturday Swiss comes to an end. An amazing tournament this was. We'll have the knockout tomorrow. Jennifer, a pleasure and an honor commentating with you. Thank you so much to you. This was awesome.
Yes, this is so great. Thanks to all of the viewers, to Coinbase, to Chess TV, and to our entire amazing production team today. Aran and Alex and everyone has been so awesome. Danya, can't wait to do it again.
Absolutely, me too. And so with that, Jennifer Shahade, Daniel Naroditsky saying goodbye from Rapid Chess Championship Week 6. We will see you tomorrow. Goodbye.